At my grandson's first communion, the one I paid for, I arrived late and overheard my greedy daughter-in-law raising a toast. Thank goodness that useless old man didn't show up today. No one can ruin our party. I stood frozen for a few seconds, then quietly walked away. 20 minutes later, I made a single phone call, and in that very moment, everything they were celebrating began to disappear. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate your time. Before we continue, let me know where you're watching from by dropping your city or country in the comments. It's always amazing to see this community grow. Please note, parts of this story are fictionalized for entertainment and educational purposes, and any resemblance is coincidental, but the message remains meaningful. I'm 60 years old, and I've been alone for 24 years. My wife Catherine passed away when our son was 12. One day, she was there laughing in the kitchen, her hair catching the afternoon light, and the next, she was gone. Heart failure, the doctors said. Sudden, painless, as if that mattered. I became both mother and father that day. I taught him to shave. I sat through parent-teacher conferences. I drove him to college and helped him move into his dorm. When he got married 4 years ago, I paid for the wedding $115,000 for a ceremony at the Hotel del Coronado because Vanessa wanted the beach, the ballroom, the works. When their son was born, I gave them the house. Not just any house, the house I designed for Catherine. 3 stories in La Jolla Ocean Views, 1247 Prospect Street, worth $1.45 million. I handed over the deed because I wanted my grandson to grow up in the home where his father had been raised. Today is Owen's first communion. He's 7 years old. In our faith, this is sacred, his first time receiving the Eucharist, a milestone we've been preparing for all year. And I'm sitting in my truck 2 blocks away because I wasn't invited. The leather seats are hot against my back. It's a clear Sunday in May, the kind of day Southern California was made for 78 degrees, not a cloud in sight. Through the windshield, I can see the white tents in the backyard. 60 people, maybe more. I count the cars lining the street, Mercedes, BMWs, Teslas. The gate is open. I could walk right in. Nobody would stop me. But I wasn't invited. I pull out my phone and check my credit card statement. The alert came through this morning, $28,500. I scroll through the charges. Catering, $12,000. Tent rental, $3,200. Tables, linens, chairs, $4,800. Live band, $5,500. Flowers, $1,800. Photographer, $1,200. $28,500. For a party at a house I still legally own. I didn't know they were planning this. No one asked my permission. No one called to say, "Dad, we're having a celebration for Owen. We'd love for you to be there." Instead, I got a text from Dorothy, my older sister who lives in Palm Springs, and somehow got an invitation I didn't. She sent it 20 minutes ago. "Tom, I'm so sorry. Vanessa just gave a toast. She said, 'Thank God we didn't have to deal with certain complications today.' Everyone knew she meant you. This isn't right." I read it 3 times. Then I set the phone down on the passenger seat and gripped the steering wheel. Complications. I can see the backyard from here. White tablecloths, champagne glasses catching the sunlight, a 7-piece band on a small stage. In the center of it all, Owen, my grandson, wearing the little white suit I sent him 3 weeks ago, runs across the lawn laughing. His hair is combed neatly to the side. His cheeks are flushed with excitement. This was supposed to be his day, and mine. In our tradition, grandparents have a role in this. We're supposed to be there. We're supposed to stand beside the child and bear witness to this sacred moment. But I'm 2 blocks away, watching through a windshield like a stranger. I see Vanessa now. She's standing near the band, holding a microphone. She's wearing a cream-colored dress, her dark hair swept up in an elegant twist. She raises a glass, and the crowd quiets. She says something, and they laugh loud enough that I can hear it through my closed windows. She gestures toward the house, and they applaud. My son is standing beside her. He's not laughing. He's looking down at his shoes. I wonder if he fought for me. I wonder if he said, "Dad should be here," or if he just nodded along when Vanessa made the decision. I don't know anymore. That house was supposed to be a gift. When I designed it 30 years ago, I drew every line for Catherine. The kitchen windows face east because she loved morning light. The master bedroom has built-in bookshelves because she couldn't sleep without reading first. The backyard has a garden plot because she wanted to grow tomatoes and basil. She never got to live in it. We ran out of money halfway through construction, and by the time we saved enough to finish, she was already gone. So I kept it. I lived there alone for 15 years, walking through rooms that echoed with her absence. And then 3 years ago, when my son told me he and Vanessa were expecting, I thought, this is it. This is how Catherine's house becomes a home again. I signed the deed over the same week Owen was born. I didn't ask for anything in return. I didn't want rent. I didn't want them to pay me back. I just wanted my grandson to grow up in a place filled with love. There was one condition, a reversionary clause buried in the legal paperwork. Howard Fitzgerald, my attorney, insisted on it. He said, "Tom, I know you trust them, but protect yourself. If they ever spend more than $5,000 on that property without your written consent, the house reverts back to you. It's a safety net." I didn't think I'd ever need it, until now. $28,500, 60 guests, a party I wasn't invited to, an insult delivered in front of everyone we know. I reach for my phone again. My hands are shaking, not from fear, but from something colder. Clarity, maybe, or resolve. I scroll through my contacts and find Howard's name. He's been my attorney for 15 years. He's 65 like me, silver-haired, methodical, the kind of man who measures his words carefully. If I'm calling him on a Sunday evening, he'll know it's serious. He answers on the second ring. "Tom, Howard," I say. My voice is steady, calmer than I feel. "I need you to look at the deed for the house on Prospect Street. The reversionary clause. I want to activate it." Silence. Then, "Tom, are you certain that's—" "I'm certain." "What happened?" I take a breath. "They threw a party. $28,500, 60 guests. My grandson's first communion. I wasn't invited, and his mother stood up in front of everyone and made a joke about how glad she was I wasn't there." Another pause. Then Howard's voice quieter now. "I'll draft the petition tonight. Meet me at my office in an hour. Bring the credit card statement and any documentation you have." "No, thank you, Tom." He hesitates. "This will change everything. You know that, right?" "I know." I hang up and sit there for another 10 minutes watching the party. The band plays something upbeat. Owen is spinning in circles, his arms outstretched, dizzy with joy. He doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't know that in 24 hours, his whole world will be different. Neither does his father. I start the engine and pull away from the curb. In my rearview mirror, the house grows smaller, white tents, laughing guests, the garden where my son used to play catch with me on summer evenings. I drive toward Kettner Boulevard where my workshop sits, tucked between a brewery and an art gallery. It's a small space, just big enough for my tools, my workbench, and the cherry wood table I've been building for the past 3 years. The table isn't finished yet. The surface still needs sanding. The legs still need one more coat of oil. But it will be, eventually. Everything will be finished. Eventually. Howard would have the papers ready by midnight. And by tomorrow morning, everything would change. Howard calls me back at 8:15. I'm still at the workshop sitting on a stool near my workbench. The lights are dim. The air smells like sawdust and linseed oil. I've been staring at the half-finished wooden box I'm making for Owen a birthday gift, though his birthday isn't for 5 months. My hands won't stop shaking. Tom, Howard says when I answer. His voice is steady measured. He's been my attorney for 15 years. He knows when I'm serious. Tell me everything. So I do. I tell him about the party 60 people white tents, a 7-piece band. I tell him about the credit card statement $28,500. I tell him about Dorothy's text, about Vanessa's toast, about sitting in my truck, 2 blocks away, watching my grandson run through a garden I used to know by heart. Howard listens without interrupting. When I finish, he's quiet for a long moment. The reversionary clause, he says finally. You're certain you want to do this? I'm certain. Tom, once we file, there's no going back. This isn't a negotiation. This is nuclear. I know. Another pause. Then, all right. I'll draft the petition tonight. I need you to send me everything you have. The deed, the bank statement, any photos or video from today, a list of everyone who was there if you can get it. Can you do that? Dorothy was there. She can give me names. Good. Send it all to my email within the hour. I'll have the petition ready by midnight. Thank you, Howard. And Tom. He hesitates. Are you sure your grandson will be okay if we go through with this? I'll make sure he's okay, I say. That's why I'm doing this. We hang up. I text Dorothy. She replies within minutes, sending me a photo of the guest list she saw on the entry table, 60 names neatly printed on cream-colored cardstock. I forward it to Howard along with the bank statement and a screenshot of the credit card alert. Then I wait. The next 3 hours pass slowly. I try to work on the wooden box, but my hands won't cooperate. I sand the same corner 3 times and still can't get it smooth. Finally, I give up and just sit there staring at my phone. At 11:30, Howard emails me petition filed with Judge Collins's clerk. Subject line, emergency. Attachments 45 pages plus exhibits. I'll call you in the morning. I drive home not to the house on Prospect Street, but to the small apartment I've been renting since I gave the house away. It's a 1-bedroom place off Kettner, 10 minutes from the workshop. The walls are bare. The furniture came with the lease. It doesn't feel like home, but it's mine. I lie in bed and stare at the ceiling. I think about Owen. I wonder if he's asleep right now, still wearing his white suit, dreaming about the party. I wonder if my son is lying awake too, wondering why I wasn't there. I don't sleep. Howard calls at 7 in the morning. And Judge reviewed it overnight, he says without preamble. She's scheduling an emergency hearing, 9 o'clock, her chambers. Bring the original deed and any other documentation you have. I'll be there. Tom, this is good. She wouldn't schedule a hearing this fast unless she thought we had a case. I hang up and get dressed. Gray slacks, a button-down shirt, a blazer. I look in the mirror and see a 60-year-old man who hasn't slept. My eyes are shadowed. My jaw is tight. I look like someone who's about to lose everything, or get it back. At 8:45, I meet Howard outside the San Diego County Superior Court. It's the imposing building, downtown, glass and concrete, 9 stories tall. We go through security, take the elevator to the 4th floor, and walk down a long hallway lined with courtroom doors. Judge Collins's chambers are at the end of the hall. Howard knocks. A voice from inside says, "Come in." The room is smaller than I expected. Wood-paneled walls, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with legal volumes, a large desk near the window. Judge Margaret Collins sits behind the desk, reading the petition. She's 60 years old, silver-haired, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. She's been on the bench for 30 years, Howard told me once. She's seen everything. A court reporter sits in the corner, fingers poised over a stenography machine. Mr. Fitzgerald," Judge Collins says, looking up. "Mr. Bennett, please sit." We sit. My heart is pounding, but I keep my hands folded in my lap. Judge Collins sets down the petition and looks at me directly. "Mr. Bennett," she says, "I've reviewed your petition and the exhibits. Before I make any decision, I need to ask you directly. Did you give written permission for the expenditure in question? A party costing $28,500 at the property located at 1247 Prospect Street. No, Your Honor, I say. My voice is steady. I didn't. And the deed clearly states that any expense over $5,000 requires your written consent, correct? Yes, Your Honor. That was the condition when I transferred the property to my son 3 years ago. She picks up the deed flips to the second page and reads aloud. In the event that the grantee incurs any expense exceeding $5,000 related to the property without the prior written consent of the grantor, all rights and title to said property shall immediately revert to the grantor. She sets it down and looks at Howard. This is airtight, Mr. Fitzgerald. Yes, Your Honor. She looks back at me. Mr. Bennett, do you understand that if I grant this petition, your son and his family will be required to vacate the property immediately? I understand. And you're certain this is what you want? I think about Vanessa's toast. I think about the 60 guests laughing. I think about sitting in my truck 2 blocks away, watching my own grandson's first communion from a distance. I'm certain, Your Honor. She nods, once picks up a pen, and signs the order. The property reverts to you effective immediately, she says. I'm issuing an emergency enforcement order. The San Diego Sheriff's Department will serve notice within 4 hours. The occupants will have 60 minutes to vacate once notified. Do you have any questions? No, Your Honor, Howard says. Then we're done here. She looks at me one more time. Mr. Bennett, I hope you know what you're doing. So do I say quietly. At 10:30, I'm back at the workshop. Howard has a copy of the signed order. He's already called the Sheriff's Department. They'll receive it by 11 and send deputies to the house by 2. I try to work. I really do. I pick up the wooden box and a sheet of sandpaper, but my hands are shaking so badly I can't hold the paper steady. I set it down and just sit there staring at my phone. At 2:03, Howard texts, order executed. Deputies en route to Prospect Street. ETA 2:15 p.m. I read it 3 times. Then I set the phone down on the workbench and close my eyes. I don't go to the house. I don't want to see my son's face when the deputies knock on the door. I don't want to see Owen if he's home from school, yet confused and scared, asking why strangers are telling them to leave. I stay here in the workshop, surrounded by tools and half-finished projects and the smell of wood. At 2:10, another text. They're pulling up now. I don't reply. I sit at the workbench, the wooden box in front of me, and wait. I wouldn't hear what happened for another hour, but by then, it would be done. My phone buzzes at 2:03. I'm still at the workbench, the wooden box in front of me. I've been sanding the same corner for the past 20 minutes, and it's still not smooth. My hands won't cooperate. The sandpaper keeps slipping. When the phone lights up, I nearly drop it. Howard's text fills the screen, order executed. Deputies en route to Prospect Street. ETA 2:15 p.m. I read it twice. Then I set the phone down carefully, like it might explode if I move too fast. They're going to the house. Right now. I pick up the sandpaper again, but my hands are shaking so badly I can't hold it. I set it down. I stand up. I sit back down. I stare at the wooden box, half-finished, the edges still rough, the lid not yet attached. I was going to give it to Owen for his 8th birthday. I was going to carve his initials into the top. Now I don't know if I'll ever see him again. At 2:17, another text at door. Son answered. Reading order, I imagine it. The knock. My son opening the door, maybe he's in jeans and a t-shirt. Maybe he was working from home, sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop. Maybe Owen was in the backyard, still in his white suit from yesterday playing. The deputy hands him the paper. My son reads it. His face goes pale. I know every expression he has. I've known them since he was born. Confusion first. What is this? Then disbelief. This can't be real. Then shock cold and sharp like ice water down his spine. He'd call Vanessa. She'd come home. 2:35 Vanessa arrived. Not taking it well. I almost laugh. Not taking it well. That's Howard's way of saying she's screaming. I can picture it, her car screeching into the driveway, her heels clicking on the pavement as she storms up to the deputies. She'd demand to see the paperwork. She'd insist it's illegal. She'd threaten lawsuits, call her lawyer, tell them they have no right. And the deputies would stand there calm and professional and show her the signature. Judge Margaret Collins, San Diego County Superior Court. They'd give them 60 minutes to pack, 60 minutes to gather what they could carry and leave the house I gave them. The next text doesn't come for another hour and 17 minutes. I spend that time pacing. I can't sit still. I walk from the workbench to the door and back again. I check my phone every 30 seconds. I imagine them packing, throwing clothes into suitcases, grabbing toothbrushes and phone chargers and Owen's stuffed animals. I imagine my son trying to explain to Owen why they have to leave. Grandpa's house now, buddy. We have to go. Would he tell him the truth, or would he lie? At 3:52, my phone buzzes again. Done. They're out. House secured. I read it 3 times. Then I sit down on the stool and close my eyes. It's done. I call Howard. He answers immediately. Tom. It's done, I say. My voice sounds rough, like I haven't used it in days. Yes. Where are they? I don't know. They didn't say. I nod, even though he can't see me. Thank you, Howard. Tom, are you okay? No, I say, but I will be. I hang up. An hour later, I call him back. Howard, I need you to do something. Name it. Get them a hotel room, 3 nights, somewhere decent. The Hilton Bayfront, maybe. Email the confirmation to my son. There's a pause. Then, Tom, are you sure? I'm sure. At least Owen will have a bed. All right, I'll handle it. Thank you. When I hang up, I feel a little less hollow. I offered. I did something. They have a place to go. 2 days later, Dorothy calls. So, Tom, she says without preamble. I heard from Linda, you know, my friend who works at the salon in Chula Vista. She said your son and Vanessa are staying with Vanessa's sister in a 1-bedroom apartment. Owen's sleeping on the couch. I sit down slowly. What about the hotel voucher? Your son never used it. Linda said Vanessa told him accepting anything from you would be admitting defeat. So they're crammed into that tiny apartment instead. I close my eyes. Tom, Dorothy says gently, you tried. You offered help. If she's too proud to take it, that's not on you. Tell that to Owen, I say quietly. Sleeping on someone's couch. Owen's not there because of you. He's there because his mother chose pride over her son's comfort. Don't you dare take that on yourself. I know she's right. It doesn't make it any easier. Thanks, Dorothy. Call me if you need anything. I hang up and sit there in the silence of my workshop. I tried. I gave them an option. They refused it. That's on them. The same day as the eviction, Tuesday evening around 5:30, I'm driving home from the workshop when I pass St. Augustine Elementary School. I don't mean to stop, but I see a familiar truck in the parking lot. My son's truck. I pull in and park a few spaces away. The school is mostly empty now. Dismissal was over an hour ago. But his truck is still there, engine off, windows up. I can see him in the driver's seat. And in the back, in the booster seat, I see Owen. My son is talking, his mouth moving, his hands gesturing. Owen is listening, his little face turned up toward his father. From here, I can't hear the words, but I can see the confusion on Owen's face, the way his eyebrows are pulled together, the way his hands are folded in his lap. Then my son looks up. Our eyes meet through the windshield. He freezes. For 5 seconds, maybe less, we just stare at each other. His face is a mess. Red-rimmed eyes, jaw tight. He looks like he hasn't slept. He looks like he's been crying. He looks destroyed. I almost get out. I almost walk over there, knock on the window, ask if Owen's okay. Ask if he's okay. But before I can move, he starts the engine. He backs out of the space tires, squealing slightly on the pavement. I watch him drive away. Owen turns in his seat, looking at me through the rear window. His little hand lifts just for a second. A wave, maybe. Or a goodbye. Then they're gone. I sit in the truck in the empty parking lot as the sun sets. The sky turns orange, then pink, then deep blue. Shadows stretch across the asphalt. A few cars pass on the street. Headlights cutting through the dusk. I realize sitting there alone that this isn't over. This is only the beginning. My son will call. Maybe tonight. Maybe tomorrow. He'll beg, or he'll yell, or he'll try to bargain. Vanessa will plan something. She's not the type to accept defeat quietly. Owen will have questions I won't know how to answer, and I'll have to live with what I've set in motion. But I can't take it back now. The deed is signed. The house is mine again. The locks will be changed by morning. I start the engine and drive back toward the workshop. I don't want to go to my apartment. It's too quiet, too empty. At least the workshop smells like wood and oil. At least there are projects I can pretend to work on. I park in the alley behind the building and let myself in through the back door. The space is dark, except for the street light filtering through the high windows. I flip on the overhead lamp and sit at the workbench. The wooden box is still there, half finished. My phone sits beside it, screen dark. I wait. I know the call is coming. Maybe not tonight, but soon. The first call came the next morning. It was 7:15 and I'd barely slept. The phone rings at 7:15 Wednesday morning. I'm at the workbench sanding the wooden box again. The same corner. The wood is smooth now, too smooth probably, but I keep working it anyway. My hands need something to do. When the phone lights up, I freeze. The screen shows a name I haven't seen in 2 days, Derek. My son. I stare at it. My thumb hovers over the green button. The phone rings once, twice, 3 times. I set it down on the bench and let it ring. On the 5th ring, it goes to voicemail. I exhale and pick up the sandpaper again. 10 minutes later, I check the voicemail. Derek's voice is shaky, uncertain. Dad, it's me. Please call me back. We need to talk. Owen keeps asking where you are. He doesn't understand what's happening. Please, just call me. I delete it. The second call comes at 10. I'm still at the workbench. Still sanding. The wooden box is taking shape now, the edges smooth, the corners crisp. It's going to be beautiful when it's done, if I ever finish it. The phone rings. Derek again. I let it go to voicemail. This time his voice is more desperate. Dad, I don't understand. Please, just tell me what I did wrong. We can fix this. Whatever it is, we can fix it. Please call me back. I listen to it once, then I delete it. The third call comes at 1:30 in the afternoon. I'm eating lunch at the workbench, a sandwich from the deli down the street. I'm not hungry, but I force myself to eat anyway. I haven't slept more than 2 hours in the past 3 nights. I need to keep my strength up. Derek again. This time I can hear frustration creeping into his voice. Dad, you can't do this and not talk to me. I know you're angry. I get it. But we have nowhere to go. Owen is sleeping on a couch. Please, just pick up the phone. I delete it and finish my sandwich. The fourth call comes at 4 in the afternoon. I'm at the workbench. Where else would I be when the phone rings? I stare at the screen for a long moment. Derek. Again. This time I answer. That. His voice breaks immediately. Just that one word, and I can hear everything in it. Fear, desperation, confusion. He sounds like he's been crying. I don't say anything. I just wait. Dad, please, he says. I don't understand. Why did you do this? Owen is sleeping on a couch at Vanessa's sister's place. We have nowhere to. You spent $28,500. I say, cutting him off. My voice is calm, steady. You threw a party at a house I gave you. 60 guests. My grandson's first communion. And I wasn't invited. But Dad, I didn't know. You didn't ask, I say. The deed had a clause, Derek. Any expense over $5,000 without my written consent, and the property reverts back to me. You violated it. Dad, I didn't think. No, I say. You didn't think. You assumed. You assumed the house was yours. You assumed I wouldn't care. You were wrong. Dad, please, we can fix this. We'll pay you back. There's a scuffle on the other end of the line, voices in the background. Then Vanessa's voice, sharp and furious. This is illegal, she shouts. You can't just throw us out. We have rights, we'll sue you, we'll take you for everything you… I hang up. I set the phone down on the workbench and stare at it. My hand isn't shaking anymore. The fifth call comes at 7 that evening. I'm at home, my small apartment off Kettner, sitting on the couch with a beer I haven't touched. The TV is on, but I'm not watching it. I'm just staring at the wall. The phone rings. Derek. Voicemail. This time he's crying. I can hear it the moment the message starts. Dad, he says, his voice thick. Vanessa didn't mean it. She's just scared. Please. Owen is asking for you. He doesn't understand why you're not here. Please don't do this to him. He's just a little boy, please. I delete it without finishing it. The sixth call comes Thursday morning at 9. I'm at the workbench again, always at the workbench. It's the only place I can think clearly. Derek. Voicemail. This time his voice is different. There's anger now. Real anger. Fine, he says. You want to do this? We'll get a lawyer. You think you can just take our home. You think you can throw your own grandson out on the street. We'll fight you, Dad. We'll take you to court. You'll regret this. I listened to it twice, then I delete it. The seventh call comes at 2 in the afternoon. I almost don't check it. But I do. Derek's voice is barely a whisper now. Defeated. Broken. Dad, he says. I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. I know I messed up. I know I should have asked. I know I should have invited you. I'm sorry. Please call me back. I sit there for a long time staring at the phone. Then I delete it. That morning Thursday before Derek's sixth call, I'd already made a decision. I called Howard. I need a private investigator, I said. There was a pause. Then, Tom, are you sure? I'm sure. Derek's desperate. I get that. But something doesn't add up. His marketing agency barely makes any money. I've seen the tax returns. But they're spending like they're millionaires. The Mercedes, the designer clothes, the $28,000 party. Where's the money coming from? You think there's fraud? I don't know, I said. But I need to find out. Howard was quiet for a moment. Then, I know someone. Angela Martinez, former SDPD detective. 20 years of experience. She's expensive, but she's the best. Give me her number. I meet Angela at a coffee shop Thursday morning at 8. It's a small place near the waterfront, locally owned, not a chain. The kind of place where the barista knows your name if you come in more than twice. I order a black coffee and sit in a corner booth away from the windows. Angela arrives exactly on time. She's 48, dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, sharp brown eyes that take in everything at once. She's wearing jeans and a black blazer, casual but professional. When she shakes my hand, her grip is firm. Mr. Bennett, she says. Howard speaks highly of you. Thank you for meeting me. She sits across from me and pulls out a small notepad paper, not digital, old school. I slide a folder across the table. This is everything I have. She opens it and starts flipping through. I watch her eyes move, quick, efficient, taking it all in without reacting. Inside the folder, the gift deed from 3 years ago. The house in La Jolla. $1.45 million. Photos I'd saved from social media over the past 2 years. Derek and Vanessa at restaurants. Vanessa with designer handbags. Derek standing next to a brand new Mercedes E-Class. Silver. $68,000. Tax returns from Derek's marketing agency. Revenue $180,000. Expenses $175,000. Net profit $5,000. Angela sets down the folder and looks at me. "Why, how long has this been going on?" she asks. "At least 2 years, maybe longer." "And you suspect fraud?" "I don't know," I say. "That's why I'm hiring you." She nods and makes a note. "What's your relationship with your son like before all this?" "Good," I say. Or I thought it was. I gave him everything. Paid for his wedding, gave him a house, helped with the business when it was struggling. But now, I trail off. "Now you're not sure. Now I'm not sure of anything." Angela closes the folder and looks at me directly. 10 days, she says. $200 an hour. Cap at $10,000. I'll need access to any financial records you have, credit card statements, anything he's asked you to co-sign, any gifts you've given. The more I have, the faster I can work. I'll email everything tonight. She pulls a business card from her pocket and slides it across the table. "I'll call you when I find something." Not if, when. I take the card. "Thank you." She stands, picks up the folder. "Mr. Bennett, whatever I find, are you prepared for it?" I look up at her. "No, but I need to know anyway." She nods once and leaves. I sit there for a long time after she's gone, staring at my cold coffee. My phone buzzes. Call number 6. Derek's angry voicemail. I silence the phone and walk out of the coffee shop. Angela called me 6 days later. What she'd found was worse than I'd imagined. The call came on a Friday morning, 9 days after I signed the house over to my son. Angela Martinez, the private investigator Howard had hired, asked me to meet her at a coffee shop on 5th Avenue. Her voice was calm, but I heard the edge beneath it. Mr. Bennett," she said when I sat down, "we need to talk about your daughter-in-law." I ordered black coffee. Angela slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were printouts, screenshots, receipts, bank statements. The first page showed a social media post from May 4th, 2025, the day of my grandson Owen's first communion. The post featured a photo of Vanessa in a white dress, one hand resting on her belly, smiling at the camera. The caption read, "Blessed to celebrate Owen's first communion today, and even more blessed to announce baby number 2 is on the way." The post had 847 likes, 312 comments. Most of them were congratulatory. A few were from people I knew, neighbors, colleagues, distant relatives. "She's not pregnant," Angela said. I confirmed it 3 ways. No medical records, no prenatal appointments. And this. She pulled out a second sheet. It was an eBay receipt. Positive pregnancy test stick. Unused factory sealed. $14.99. The shipping address matched Vanessa's. I stared at the receipt. My hands felt cold. "There's more," Angela said. She opened her laptop and turned the screen toward me. It was an email thread between Vanessa and my son Derek. The subject line read, "The plan." The earliest message was dated 4 years ago, long before Catherine died. One line stood out. "If we can stress him enough, his heart might give out naturally. Then the house is ours." I set down my coffee cup. My hand was shaking. Angela continued. On May 3rd, the day before the first communion, Vanessa went to Wells Fargo and applied for a $240,000 home equity loan using your house as collateral. The loan officer flagged it because the deed had been transferred only 8 days earlier. But Vanessa presented a signed contract, your signature, Mr. Bennett, authorizing her to act on your behalf. The bank approved the loan within 48 hours. She pulled out a copy of the contract. I recognized the letterhead. It was mine. But the clause at the bottom, the one granting Vanessa power of attorney, was new. I had never signed that version. Forged, I said quietly. Angela nodded. We sent both versions to a forensic document examiner. The signature matches yours at 90%, but the ink composition is different. Someone scanned your signature from the original deed, digitally pasted it onto this contract, printed it, and submitted it to the bank. Where's the money? I asked. Angela turned to another page. It was a spreadsheet. Loan disbursement, $240,000. Within 3 weeks, the money had been spent. $125,000. Credit card debt. Derek's name, mostly gambling and online purchases, $68,000. Mercedes-Benz GLE 450 registered to Vanessa, $32,000. Luxury items, Chanel bags, Rolex watch. Vacation in Cabo San Lucas, $15,000. First communion expenses, catering, church, rental, photographer, gifts for guests, remaining balance $347. I sat back. My chest felt tight. The first communion, I said. I paid for the first communion, $8,500. Angela looked at me. Did they ask you to pay? No, I said. I offered. Derek said they'd been struggling financially. I wanted to help. Angela closed the folder. Mr. Bennett, they've been planning this for a long time. I drove to the first communion late that Sunday. I had spent the morning at the bank trying to verify Angela's findings. The loan officer confirmed everything. By the time I arrived at St. Joseph Cathedral, the ceremony had already ended. Guests were gathered in the courtyard outside, eating catered food, drinking champagne. I stood near the entrance, half hidden behind a column. I could see Derek talking to his uncle, my brother-in-law. Vanessa was at the center of the crowd, holding Owen, laughing. She wore a cream-colored dress and heels. Her left hand rested on her flat stomach. Someone handed her a glass of champagne. She raised it. The crowd quieted. I just want to say, Vanessa began, her voice bright and clear, how grateful I am that we could celebrate this beautiful day with all of you, and I'm so relieved. She paused, smiled, that the old man didn't show up. Now we can finally enjoy the party without anyone ruining it. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Derek smiled, uncomfortable but silent. Owen in Vanessa's arms looked confused. I stood there for 3 seconds, maybe 4. Then I turned and walked back to my truck. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just sat there gripping the steering wheel, staring at the glove compartment, where I kept a copy of the original deed, the one Catherine and I had signed 30 years ago. At 6:40, I pulled out my phone and called Howard. Howard, I said. I need you to check the transfer contract. Tonight. I think it's been forged. There was a pause. I'll meet you at my office. Give me 30 minutes. I hung up. I started the engine. I drove north on Park Boulevard, the cathedral shrinking in my rearview mirror. Behind me, the party continued. They didn't know. They had no idea that the single phone call I just made had set everything in motion. By Monday morning, Howard had the results. The contract was a forgery. The loan was fraudulent. And under federal law, specifically 18 U.S.C. Section 1014 mortgage fraud, Vanessa and Derek had committed a crime punishable by up to 30 years in prison. Howard contacted the FBI. By Tuesday afternoon, a case file had been opened. Special Agent Rebecca Foster, a 44-year-old veteran of the White-Collar Crime Division, called me personally. Mr. Bennett, she said, we're going to need all your documents, contracts, emails, bank statements, anything you have, and we're going to need you to stay quiet. Don't confront them. Don't warn them. Let us handle it. I agreed. That night, I sat in my workshop on Kettner Boulevard alone. I thought about Vanessa's words, the old man didn't show up. I thought about the $8,500 I'd paid for a first communion they never wanted me to attend. I thought about Owen, 7 years old, being used as a prop in his mother's con. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know if Derek had helped Vanessa forge the contract, or if he'd been manipulated too. I didn't know how long the investigation would take, or whether I'd ever get my house back. But I knew one thing. They thought I was finished. They thought I was too old, too trusting, too weak to fight back. They were wrong. If you're still with me, drop a comment right now. Just type "still watching" so I know you're here. And tell me honestly, if you were in my position, would you dig deeper to uncover the truth or walk away before things spiral out of control? Because what I discovered next changed everything. And just a quick note, the next part includes some dramatized elements for storytelling purposes. If that's not for you, feel free to stop here. 3 weeks after the First Communion. 3 weeks after I stood in that cathedral courtyard and heard my daughter-in-law tell a crowd of guests that she was relieved the old man hadn't shown up. 3 weeks after I sat in my truck for 20 minutes gripping the steering wheel before calling Howard. It was Monday, May 14th, 2025. I asked Derek and Vanessa to meet me at my workshop on Kettner Boulevard. I didn't tell them why. I just said, "We need to talk." They arrived at 2 in the afternoon. Vanessa wore sunglasses and a designer jacket. Derek looked tired. Owen wasn't with them, he was at school. I didn't offer them coffee. I didn't ask them to sit. I walked to my workbench and laid out 3 items. An eBay receipt for a positive pregnancy test stick. $14.99. Shipped to Vanessa's address on May 2nd, 2025. A side-by-side comparison of 2 contracts, the original deed transfer I had signed and the forged version with a power of attorney clause I had never authorized. A Wells Fargo statement showing a $240,000 home equity loan dispersed on May 5th, the day after Owen's first communion. Vanessa took off her sunglasses. Derek stared at the papers. "I want the truth," I said. Now, Vanessa spoke first. The pregnancy test was a joke, a prank for social media. People do it all the time. 847 people liked your post, I said. 312 commented. You took their money through a GoFundMe. That's not a prank. That's fraud. She crossed her arms. I didn't ask anyone for money. You didn't have to, I said. They gave it because they believed you. I turned to Derek. What about the loan? Did you know about it? Derek looked at Vanessa, then at me. I knew we had debts. I didn't know she'd taken out a loan. Liar, I said quietly. Vanessa's voice turned sharp. We needed the money, Thomas. Derek owed $180,000 to a loan shark named Victor Morales. The interest was 25% compounded annually. If we didn't pay by June, we'd lose Derek's company 51% ownership, valued at $300,000. Morales was threatening our family? So you forged a contract, I said. Used my house as collateral, took out a $250,000 loan, and spent it all in 3 weeks. Derek finally spoke. I didn't forge anything. That was her. Vanessa glared at him. You gave me your father's account number. You told me Catherine's maiden name, the password hint. You were there when I deleted the reversionary clause from the deed. Don't act innocent. Derek's face went pale. I thought we were just adjusting the terms. I didn't know you'd fake his signature. My phone rang. It was Angela Martinez on speakerphone. I set the phone on the workbench. Mr. Bennett, Angela said. I'm reading the Proton Mail thread you forwarded. There are 47 emails between Derek and Vanessa spanning 4 years. One of them is titled The Plan, and I'll read the keyline. If we can stress him enough, his heart might give out naturally. Then the house is ours. The workshop went silent. There's another email. Angela continued, dated March 2025. Vanessa writes, The first communion is perfect timing. He'll pay for everything, and we'll have an excuse to gather the family. After that, we move on the loan. I'll delete the $500,000 clause before the bank sees it. I looked at Derek. You read these emails. He didn't deny it. Did you cut my brake lines? I asked. No, Derek said quickly. I swear. I didn't know about the kidnapping plot either. That was all her. Vanessa laughed bitterly. You're pathetic. I picked up the eBay receipt. Get out, Dad. Get out of my workshop, both of you. Vanessa grabbed her purse. Derek hesitated, then followed her to the door. Before he left, he turned back. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. The door closed. I sat down at the cherry wood table Owen and I had been restoring. My hands were shaking. Angela's voice came through the phone. Thomas, you still there? Yeah. The FBI wants to meet with you tomorrow morning. Are you ready? I looked at the forged contract, the fake pregnancy receipt, the bank statement showing $347 remaining from a $250,000 loan. Yeah, I said, I'm ready. Tuesday morning, May 15th, 2025. I woke at 6, made coffee, and sat at the cherry wood table staring at the folder Angela had prepared. At 7:30, I called Howard. I'm contacting the FBI today, I said. There was a pause. I'll meet you there. Don't go alone. At 9 o'clock, Special Agent Rebecca Foster arrived at my workshop. She was 44 years old, with short dark hair, sharp brown eyes, and a gray suit. She shook my hand firmly, sat down across from me, and opened a leather portfolio. Mr. Bennett, she said. Howard briefed me yesterday evening. I've reviewed the preliminary documents. Before we proceed, I need to see everything: the original deed, the forged contract, the Wells Fargo loan, documents, the email thread, the eBay receipt, and any other evidence you've collected. I slid the folder across the table. Rebecca went through each page methodically, taking notes. When she reached the Proton Mail email thread titled The Plan, she paused. She read the line aloud. If we can stress him enough, his heart might give out naturally. Then the house is ours. She looked up. Do you have the original email file? Not just a printout, but Angela forwarded it to me yesterday. I can send it to you right now. Please do. I pulled out my phone and sent it to the email address Rebecca provided. Her phone buzzed. She opened the attachment and read silently for 2 minutes. When she finished, she closed her portfolio and leaned back. Oh, Mr. Bennett, she said, as of this moment, I am opening an official FBI case file. The charges under consideration are federal mortgage fraud under 18 U.S.C., Section 1014 federal wire fraud, under Section 1343 conspiracy to commit fraud and identity theft. Your son, Derek Bennett, and your daughter-in-law, Vanessa Pierce, are officially under investigation. I felt something loosen in my chest. What happens next? We build the case. I'll coordinate with Wells Fargo, subpoena their records, and interview the loan officer. I'll work with Angela to authenticate the forged contract. We'll need a forensic document examiner to testify the signature was digitally altered. I'll also subpoena the Proton Mail server for the full email thread. How long will this take? Depends on their cooperation. If they lawyer up immediately, it could take several months. If one of them cooperates, turns state's evidence, it moves faster. But here's what I need from you. Don't contact them. Don't warn them. Don't post anything on social media. Let us build the case quietly. Can you do that? I nodded. Yes. Oh, good. She stood and handed me a business card. If they contact you by phone, email, text, you document it and call me immediately. Don't engage. Don't respond. Understood. Understood. Rebecca walked to the door, then turned back. One more thing. I'm recommending you revise your will. If something happens to you during this investigation, I don't want them inheriting a single dollar. I'll call Howard as soon as you leave. She nodded and left. I called Howard at 9:30. Rebecca said I should change my will. I was about to call you with the same advice, Howard said. Come to my office this afternoon, 2 o'clock. I'll have a draft ready. At 2, I sat in Howard's office while he pulled up the will I had signed 3 years ago after Catherine died. Everything I owned, my workshop, my tools, my savings, my pension, went to Derek. Owen was listed as a secondary beneficiary only if Derek predeceased me. I want it changed, I said. Everything goes to Owen, held in trust until he turns 25. Derek gets nothing. Vanessa gets nothing. Howard typed quickly. I'll create an irrevocable trust. You'll name a trustee someone who manages the assets until Owen comes of age. I recommend Dorothy. She's family financially stable and not involved in this mess. Dorothy. I agreed. And if something happens to her? We'll name a backup trustee, a bank or financial institution. I'll draft the language tonight. You can sign tomorrow morning and I'll file it with the county by end of business. Good. Howard printed a preliminary draft and slid it across the desk. I read through it carefully. Every mention of Derek's name had been removed. In its place, Owen Christopher Bennett, minor child beneficiary of the Thomas Bennett Irrevocable Trust, established May 16, 2025. This is what you want? Howard asked. Yes. He saved the document. I'll finalize it tonight. Come back tomorrow at 9. Bring 2 witnesses, people who aren't beneficiaries. Dorothy can't be one of them. Angela, I said. And Ronald Gibson, city council member. I've known him 15 years. Perfect. 9 a.m. tomorrow. I left Howard's office and drove back to the workshop. The sun was setting. I parked in the alley and climbed the stairs. Owen was on the couch doing homework. Dorothy was in the kitchen making dinner. Grandpa Owen looked up. We're having spaghetti. Do you want some? Sure, buddy. I sat next to him and looked at his worksheet addition and subtraction. He was erasing and rewriting numbers carefully. I need help, I asked. No, I got it. He showed me the answer. It was correct. Dorothy brought over a plate of spaghetti. Thomas, you okay? You look tired. I'm fine, just a long day. She didn't press. We ate together in silence while the city outside grew dark. Wednesday morning, May 16th, 9 a.m. I returned to Howard's office with Angela and Ronald. Howard had printed the final version of the will. I read it once more, signed at the bottom, and both Angela and Ronald signed as witnesses. Howard notarized the document and uploaded it to the county clerk's filing system. Done, Howard said. Effective immediately. If anything happens to you, Derek and Vanessa receive nothing. Owen inherits everything through the trust with Dorothy as trustee. I shook his hand. Thank you. Ronald looked at me. Thomas, I've known you a long time. If you need anything at all, you call me. Understood. Angela walked with me to the parking lot. Rebecca called me this morning. The forensic examiner confirmed the signature on the forged contract was digitally altered 92% match, but wrong ink composition. That's enough for an indictment. When? She didn't say, but soon. I drove back to the workshop. Owen was at school. Dorothy had gone home. I sat alone at the cherry wood table staring at the carved initials CBTBOB. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Dad, can we talk, please? I stared at the message for a long time. Rebecca's words echoed, don't engage. Don't respond. I deleted the text and set the phone down. Outside, the city hummed. Somewhere out there, Vanessa and Derek were going about their day, unaware that the FBI had opened a case that a forensic examiner had confirmed forgery, that my will had been rewritten to cut them out entirely. They thought they had won. They thought the first communion, the fake pregnancy, the forged loan, the stolen $250,000, they thought all of it had worked. They were wrong. I picked up sandpaper and returned to the table. Owen and I still had work to do. The surface was almost smooth now, the scars from the spray paint nearly invisible. I thought about Rebecca's words. Let us build the case quietly. I thought about Vanessa's email. If we can stress him enough, his heart might give out. And I thought about the first communion, the ceremony I had paid for the party, where I'd been mocked, the daughter-in-law who had raised a glass and said thank God the old man didn't show up. The table wasn't finished yet. Neither was I. 1 week after the FBI opened the case, Thursday, May 22, 2025, Vanessa launched her counterattack. It started with a photograph. She posted it to Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter simultaneously at 3 in the afternoon. The image showed her left forearm covered in dark purple bruises running from wrist to elbow. The caption read, "I stayed silent for too long, but I can't anymore. Thomas Bennett is an abusive, controlling man who has threatened my family for years. I'm speaking out now for my son, for myself, for anyone else who has suffered in silence. Hashtag elder abuse, hashtag speak your truth." Within 3 hours, the post had 1,200 likes. By evening, it had spread across San Diego social media. Comments flooded in. I always knew something was off. Why isn't he in jail? Someone protect that child. Angela called me at 7 p.m. Thomas, do not respond. Do not comment. Do not engage. Let me handle it. What is she doing? Building a counter-narrative. She knows the FBI is investigating. This is her defense, paint you as the aggressor, herself as the victim. If she convinces the public you're abusive, she can argue in court that everything she did was self-defense. It's a lie. I know, give me 24 hours. Friday morning, May 23rd. Vanessa escalated. She launched a GoFundMe help Vanessa and Owen escape elder abuse. The description read, "For years I have lived under the control of my father-in-law, Thomas Bennett. He forced me to sign documents. He withheld money meant for my son. He threatened to take Owen from me. Last week when I confronted him, he became violent. I have bruises to prove it. I am terrified. I need help to find safe housing and hire a lawyer. Every dollar helps." By day's end, the campaign raised $14,350 from 847 donors. Strangers sent $10, $20, $50. Comments poured in. "Stay safe, Mama. You are so brave. I donated $100. Get out now." I sat in my workshop watching the total climb. Dorothy called. "Thomas, people are asking if it's true. Neighbors, church friends. What do I tell them? Tell them it's a lie. They won't believe me. They've seen the bruises. The bruises are fake. Can you prove it? Angela's working on it." Angela called at midnight. "I found it. The bruises are fake." Vanessa bought a Sephora theatrical makeup kit 2 days before posting. Bruise and contour palette. $89. I have the receipt, credit card purchase timestamped May 20th. Can you prove she used it? I better. I contacted a special effects makeup artist. She analyzed the photo, wrong color gradient, no swelling, no skin texture variation. These are textbook stage makeup. What else? I traced GoFundMe donors. 8 top commenters received Venmo payments from Vanessa the same day they posted. $250 each. She paid fake witnesses. You can prove that. Screenshots of Venmo transactions. Thanks for your help today. Sent to 8 accounts within 1 hour of launch. It's witness tampering and fraud. What now? Press conference, Sunday morning. I'll call Howard and Ronald. Friday evening, May 24th. Howard, Angela, Dorothy, and Ronald Gibson gathered at my workshop. We spread evidence across the cherrywood table: forged deed, fake pregnancy receipt, $89, Sephora receipt. Venmo payments, $250 times 8 equals $2,000, Proton Mail emails. Ronald shook his head. This is insane. Howard said, press conference, Sunday, San Diego Central Library, Neil Morgan Auditorium. I'll contact media. Angela opened her laptop. 25 slides. Timeline evidence, contract comparison, financial breakdown, defamation proof. We worked through the night. By Saturday midnight, the PowerPoint was done. Slides 1 to 3. Timeline May 4th, First Communion, to May 22nd, fake post. Slides 4 to 7, original versus forged contract, 92% match equals digital forgery. Slides 8 to 10, fake pregnancy, $14. 99 eBay test, no records. Slides 11 to 15, proton mail, stress his heart until it gives out. Slides 16 to 18, loan docs $240,000 to $347 left. Slides 19 to 21, fake bruises $89, Sephora, expert analysis. Slides 22 to 23, Venmo fake witnesses, $250 times 8. Slide 24, GoFundMe $14,350 fraud. Slide 25, this is not elder abuse, this is fraud. Ronald secured the venue. Angela printed handouts. Howard rehearsed my statement. At midnight, I practiced in the mirror. My name is Thomas Bennett. I'm here to tell you the truth. Sunday, May 27th, 10 a.m., Neil Morgan Auditorium. 20 journalists filled the front. Jessica Morgan, Union Tribune, Fox, 5 NBC, 7 ABC, 10 bloggers. I stood at the podium. Howard sat left. Angela ran the projector. Dorothy sat second row. Ronald stood back. My name is Thomas Bennett. I'm 60 years old. I'm an architect. I'm here to tell you the truth. I don't ask for pity. I ask you to listen. I clicked slide 1. The timeline appeared. I walked through every slide, showed the forged contract, read the email. If we stress him enough, his heart might give out. Displayed Sephora receipt beside bruise photo, showed makeup expert analysis. Revealed Venmo payments, 8 transactions, $250 each, 1 hour apart. At slide 24, I paused. 847 people donated to help someone they believed was in danger. They were lied to. Their kindness was weaponized. Slide 25. This is not elder abuse. This is fraud. Silence. Jessica Morgan raised her hand. Mr. Bennett, why go public now? Because she lied to you. 847 people believed her. I won't let my silence become proof of guilt. Another journalist, is this revenge? No, this is accountability. The conference ended at 11. By evening, the story broke everywhere. Jessica's Union Tribune headline, San Diego architect exposes daughter-in-law's fraud scheme. Fox 5 and NBC 7 ran segments. Hashtags trended, hashtag fake pregnancy, hashtag Thomas Bennett, hashtag justice for Thomas. GoFundMe froze Vanessa's campaign and began refunds. Monday, May 28th. Vanessa struck back. Someone tried accessing my Wells Fargo account from a Chula Vista IP. The bank locked it and traced the source. 3 consulting clients received spoofed emails, fake address resembling mine canceling contracts. I lost $15,000 in future income. Carol Henderson, my branch manager, called. Thomas 6 login attempts last night. We flagged it. Press charges? Yes. Angela added the IP trace to evidence. She's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. I sat at the cherrywood table that night. Outside, the city hummed. Somewhere Vanessa was planning her next move, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I had truth. I had evidence. I had witnesses. Sunday morning, May 27th, 2025. 10 o'clock. Neil Morgan Auditorium at the San Diego Central Library, was filled with 20 journalists. Jessica Morgan from the San Diego Union Tribune sat in front, notebook open. Camera crews from Fox 5, NBC 7, and ABC 10 lined the back. Bloggers held up phones recording. I stood at the podium. Howard Fitzgerald sat to my left. Angela Martinez operated the projector. Dorothy sat in the second row. Ronald Gibson stood near the entrance. I adjusted the microphone. My name is Thomas Bennett. I'm 60 years old. I'm an architect. I've lived in San Diego 35 years. I'm here to tell you the truth. I don't ask for pity or sympathy. I ask that you listen and judge for yourself. I clicked the remote. The timeline appeared. May 4th, 2025, Owen Bennett's first communion. Cost $8,500, paid by Thomas Bennett. May 5th, Wells Fargo disburses $240,000 loan using forged contract. May 14th, Thomas confronts Derek and Vanessa. May 15th, FBI opens case. May 22nd, Vanessa posts fake bruises, launches GoFundMe. May 27th, press conference. It started at my grandson's first communion, I said. I paid for it. I arrived late and heard my daughter-in-law tell guests, "Thank God the old man didn't show up, now we can enjoy the party." So I left. 20 minutes later, I called my attorney. That call started this. Next slide, 2 contracts side by side. Left the original deed I signed April 25th, 2025, transferring my house to my son with a reversionary clause. Right, a forged version. The clause is deleted. A new paragraph grants Vanessa Pierce power of attorney. My signature is there, but I never signed it. I paused. An FBI forensic examiner analyzed both. The forged signature matches mine 92%, but the ink is different. Someone scanned my signature, pasted it, digitally printed it, and submitted it to Wells Fargo. That's identity theft. Federal mortgage fraud under 18 U.S.C. 1014. Next slide, eBay receipt. May 2nd, 2025. Vanessa bought a positive pregnancy test on eBay. $14.99. Unused. 2 days later, she posted on social media claiming she was pregnant. 847 likes, 312 comments. It was a lie. No medical records, no prenatal care. She bought a fake test to manipulate sympathy. Murmurs spread, heads turned. Next slide, email thread. Proton mail exchange between Derek and Vanessa. Subject, the plan. 4 years of emails. One line, March 18th, 2025. If we stress him enough, his heart might give out naturally. Then the house is ours. Silence. Someone inhaled sharply. Next slide, Wells Fargo statement. May 5th, Vanessa applied for a $240,000 loan using my house as collateral. She showed the forged contract. The bank approved it in 48 hours. I clicked. Financial breakdown appeared. A murmur rippled. Jessica's pen froze. A blogger whispered. Someone gasped. $240,000. I said slowly. Gone in 3 weeks. I pointed at the screen. Took a credit card debt from gambling, a luxury car, designer bags, a Mexico vacation. $15,000 for a first communion I'd already paid $8,500 for. Pause. When after all that, after $250,000, the balance was $347. Less than groceries for a week. I let it sink in. Heads shook. Jessica wrote furiously. They used my home, the home I built for my late wife, to fund a lifestyle they couldn't afford. When the money ran out, they had nothing but lies. Next slide, Vanessa's bruised arm beside a Sephora receipt. May 22nd. Vanessa posted this claiming I abused her. It went viral. She launched a GoFundMe, Help Vanessa and Owen Escape Elder Abuse. Shakti $14,350 from 847 donors. Next, makeup expert analysis. The bruises are fake. She bought an $89 theatrical kit from Sephora May 20th. A special effects artist analyzed it: wrong gradient, no swelling, no texture. Stage makeup. People shook their heads. Someone muttered, "Unbelievable." Next, Venmo screenshots. 8 people vouched for her story. All 8 received Venmo payments from Vanessa the same day. $250 each. $2,000 total. She paid fake witnesses. Jessica stared, mouth open. Final slide. This is not elder abuse. This is fraud. I looked out. The room was silent except for the projector hum. There were 847 people donated because they believed her. Their kindness was weaponized. I won't let my silence prove guilt. I won't let lies cover crimes. Jessica raised her hand. Mr. Bennett, why go public? Why not let the FBI handle it? Because she lied to you. To everyone. If I stayed silent, the lie becomes truth. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for accountability. Another journalist. What do you want people to take away? The truth, I said. Just the truth. And maybe ask questions before believing everything online. NBC 7. Your daughter-in-law says you're controlling and abusive. Your response. Evidence, I said. Not accusations. Receipts, bank statements, forensic analysis, expert testimony. That's my response. The conference ended at 11. Journalists rushed out, phones up. Jessica typed rapidly. A cameraman said to another, "This'll blow up." By noon, the story broke. Jessica's Union Tribune headline: Architect exposes daughter-in-law's elaborate fraud. Fox 5 ran segments at 5. NBC 7 at 6 with donor interviews. By evening, hashtags trended. Hashtag fake pregnancy. Hashtag Thomas Bennett. Hashtag Justice for Thomas. GoFundMe froze Vanessa's campaign, began refunds to all donors. Monday morning, Carol Henderson called. Thomas, 6 login attempts on your account last night. IP traced to Chula Vista. We locked it. Press charges. An hour later, 3 clients forwarded spoofed emails canceling contracts. Fake address impersonating me. I lost $15,000 in future income. Angela called. The IP from the bank matches Rick Torres's location. The spoofed emails too. She's panicking, making mistakes. Every mistake is more evidence. That evening I sat at the cherrywood table. Owen was at Dorothy's. The workshop was quiet. I thought about the press conference, the journalists' faces, Jessica's article shared thousands of times, the hashtags, comments, public opinion turning. Somewhere, maybe Chula Vista Vanessa was planning her next move. But I'd done what I needed. The truth was public. Evidence undeniable. Lies exposed. The walls were closing in. Tuesday morning, May 28th, 2025. I woke at 6:30, made coffee, and drove to the workshop. The sun was just rising over the city. I parked in the alley behind the building on Kettner Boulevard and climbed the metal stairs to the second-floor entrance. The door was covered in spray paint. Bright red letters, 3 feet tall, dripping down the wood lyre. I stood there for 10 seconds, staring. Then I pulled out my phone and called the police. Officer David Ramirez arrived 20 minutes later. He was in his mid-40s, stocky, with a shaved head and a calm, methodical demeanor. He took photos of the door, wrote notes on a clipboard, and asked me if I had any idea who might have done this. My daughter-in-law, I said. Vanessa Pierce. He looked up. The woman from the news, the GoFundMe. Yes. He nodded slowly. I'll file a report. Let me check inside. I unlocked the door. The smell hit me first, paint thinner, something acrid. I stepped inside and stopped. The workshop had been destroyed. My workbench was overturned. Tools were scattered across the floor, chisels, hammers, saws, some bent, some snapped in half. The shelves along the wall had been swept clean. Jars of nails and screws lay shattered. My drafting table was on its side, blueprints torn and trampled, and in the center of the room, untouched but defaced, was the cherrywood table. Someone had spray-painted it. Thick black lines crisscrossed the surface. The initials I had carved, CBTBOB, were barely visible under the paint. The bird Owen had carved into the corner was covered completely. I walked over slowly and ran my hand across the ruined surface. The wood was still smooth beneath the paint. The table was still standing, but it had been violated. Officer Ramirez stepped inside his hand, resting on his radio. Jesus. Yeah. He walked the perimeter of the room, taking photos, noting details. Door was locked when you arrived. Yes. No signs of forced entry on the outside. But look here. He knelt by the doorframe. Pry marks. Someone used a slim jim or a lockpick. They knew what they were doing. He stood and pulled out a small evidence bag. Near the overturned workbench, he picked up a cigarette butt. Fresh. Still smells like smoke. Bag it, I said. He did. Estimated damage, Ramirez asked. I looked around. A DeWalt miter saw cracked in half. A set of Japanese chisels bent. A belt sander smashed. Jars of finish spilled across the concrete floor. 8,000, maybe more. Ramirez wrote it down. I'll file this as felony vandalism and breaking and entering. You'll get a case number within 48 hours. In the meantime, I recommend you install a security camera and change your locks. I will. He handed me his card. If you remember anything else, call me. After he left, I called Angela. Angela arrived 30 minutes later with a laptop and a portable printer. She walked through the workshop, taking her own photos, measuring distances, checking angles. She knelt where Ramirez had found the cigarette butt and examined the floor. There's another one, she said, pointing under the overturned drafting table. Whoever did this was here for a while. They weren't rushed. Oh, can you trace it? Maybe. If they left DNA on the filter, I'll bag it and send it to a lab I work with. She stood and walked to the door. Pry marks here, but no fingerprints. They wore gloves. Professional, or at least smart. She pulled out her phone. Let me check something. She made a call. I heard her ask someone about CCTV cameras in the area. After a few minutes, she hung up. There's a liquor store 2 blocks south with a camera that faces this direction. I'm going to pull the footage. She left. I stayed in the workshop staring at the ruined table. An hour later, Angela called. I got the footage. Dark blue Honda Accord partial plate 7J3. It was parked in the alley from 11:47 p.m. to 12:38 a.m. 51 minutes. One person got out, went up the stairs, came back down, drove away. Can you see the driver? Not clearly. Hoodie mask. But the car is registered. I'm running the plate now. She called back 10 minutes later. The car is registered to a Richard Torres, age 35 address in Chula Vista. Street name Rick T. And here's the kicker, Vanessa Pierce sent him a Venmo payment on May 26th, 2 days ago. $250. Memo line. Thanks for your help. I closed my eyes. She hired him. Yeah, she did. Wednesday evening, May 29th. I was sitting at the ruined table trying to sand the spray paint off the wood when I heard footsteps outside. I stood, walked to the door, and looked through the peephole. No one. I opened the door. A folded piece of paper lay on the ground, weighted down with a rock. I picked it up and unfolded it. The message was handwritten in block letters. Stop talking or you'll regret it. I took a photo of the note, put it in a plastic bag, and called Rebecca Foster. She answered on the second ring. Thomas, I just found a death threat under my door. Don't touch it. I'm sending a team. 2 hours later, an FBI evidence team arrived. They photographed the note, bagged it, dusted the rock for prints. Rebecca stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her face unreadable. "This escalates things," she said. "I'm filing for an emergency restraining order. Judge Margaret Collins will sign it tonight. Vanessa Pierce will be prohibited from coming within 100 yards of you, your workshop, or your grandson. Violation of the order is immediate arrest." "Will that stop her?" Rebecca looked at me. "Probably not, but it gives us legal leverage." She left at midnight. I locked the door, wedged a chair under the handle, and sat at the table with my phone beside me. At 11:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text message. "You think a piece of paper will stop me?" I screenshot the message and forwarded it to Rebecca. She replied immediately. "Don't respond. We're tracing the number now." I didn't respond. I sat in the dark workshop listening to the city outside, the distant hum of traffic, the occasional siren. I thought about the spray-painted door, the destroyed tools, the ruined table, the cigarette butts, the threatening note, the text message. Vanessa wasn't backing down. She was escalating. And I realized, sitting there in the dark, that this wasn't going to end with a press conference or a restraining order or an FBI investigation. This was going to end with someone getting hurt. Thursday morning, May 30th. I hired a locksmith to install a deadbolt on the workshop door. I bought 2 security cameras from Home Depot, one for the exterior door, one for the interior, and mounted them myself. I synced them to my phone so I could monitor the feed remotely. Angela called at noon. The lab analyzed the cigarette butt. No usable DNA, too degraded. But the Venmo payment to Rick Torres is solid evidence. Rebecca's adding him to the investigation. If we can flip him, get him to testify that Vanessa hired him to vandalize your workshop, that's conspiracy. Will he flip? Depends on what we offer him. Rebecca's working on it. I sat at the cherry wood table that evening, sanding the black spray paint. The wood underneath was scarred but intact. Owen's carved bird was still there, faint but visible. I thought about Catherine. I thought about the 30 years we'd spent building this life together. I thought about the house on Maple Street, the one I'd signed over to Derek. I thought about the first communion, the forged loan, the fake bruises, the hired vandal, the death threat. And I thought about Owen, 7 years old, asleep at Dorothy's house, unaware that his mother had just threatened to kill his grandfather. I picked up my phone and looked at the screenshot of the text message. "You think a piece of paper will stop me?" No, I thought. A piece of paper won't stop you. But the truth will. Friday morning, May 31st, 2025. 8 o'clock. My phone rang. The caller ID showed a local number I didn't recognize. Mr. Bennett. A man's voice, rough-tired. "This is Carlos Mendez. I run the auto shop on 4th Street. You brought your truck in yesterday for an oil change." "Yeah, is it ready?" There was a pause. "Sir, I need you to come down here. Right now. Don't drive anywhere. I'm sending my nephew to pick you up." "What's wrong?" "Your brake lines have been cut." I sat down. "What?" "Clean cuts. Both lines. Someone used a blade. This wasn't wear and tear, Mr. Bennett. This was intentional." 20 minutes later, Carlos's nephew dropped me off at the shop. Carlos met me in the garage bay. He was in his mid-40s, wearing a stained mechanic's jumpsuit, his hands blackened with grease. He led me to my truck, which was raised on a lift. He pointed up at the undercarriage. "See these lines? That's your brake fluid. Both lines have been severed. Right here and here. If you'd driven this truck, especially on the freeway, you'd have no brakes. No stopping power. At 60 miles per hour, that's a death sentence." I stared at the cut lines. They were clean, deliberate. Not frayed, not corroded. Cut. "When was the last time you drove it?" Carlos asked. "Wednesday evening. I parked it in the alley behind my workshop. It's been there since." "So sometime between Wednesday night and Thursday morning, someone crawled under your truck and did this." I pulled out my phone and called Officer Ramirez. Ramirez arrived 30 minutes later. He photographed the brake lines from multiple angles, took measurements, and interviewed Carlos. When he finished, he turned to me. "Mr. Bennett, this isn't vandalism anymore. This is attempted murder. Whoever cut these lines intended for you to die in a traffic accident. I'm forwarding this to the FBI immediately." "I was supposed to drive to Palm Springs this morning," I said quietly. 2-hour drive, mostly freeway. I-15. Ramirez's face hardened. "You would have been dead before you hit the county line." He called Rebecca Foster from his patrol car. I heard him say the words, attempted murder and federal case. When he hung up, he handed me a card. "Agent Foster wants you to call her. Now." I called Rebecca. She answered immediately. "Thomas, I just heard. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. I didn't drive it." "Good. Listen to me carefully. This changes everything. I'm upgrading the threat level. We're treating this as an active murder plot. I'm requesting an emergency wiretap on Vanessa Pierce's phone. Judge Collins will sign it within the hour. Until then, you do not leave your workshop. You do not go anywhere alone." "Understood. Understood. I'll call you back in 2 hours." She hung up. Carlos lowered the truck and walked over. "I can replace the lines. Take me a few hours." "But Mr. Bennett," he looked at me seriously. "You need to be careful. Whoever did this isn't playing games." "I know." Friday evening, 10 o'clock. Rebecca called. "The wiretap is active. Judge Collins signed the order at noon based on the brake line evidence and the threatening text message. We've been monitoring Vanessa's phone for the past 10 hours. Thomas, we just intercepted a call between Vanessa and Rick Torres, the man who vandalized your workshop." I sat up. "What did they say?" "I'm going to play you the recording. It's short. Brace yourself." There was a click. Then Vanessa's voice, clear and cold. "The brake lines didn't work. He didn't drive the truck. We need a different approach." Rick's voice, nervous. "I don't know, Vanessa. This is getting too hot. The cops are already looking at me. I'm paying you $10,000, Rick. 5 up front, 5 after. All you have to do is pick up the kid from school. Monday, 3:30 p.m., St. Augustine Elementary. Take him to the address I gave you in Tijuana. I'll meet you there. You want me to kidnap a kid? I want you to take my son somewhere safe while I deal with his grandfather. It's not kidnapping, it's protection." "What about the dad, Derek? Now, Derek doesn't need to know. He's useless anyway." There was a long pause. Then Rick said, "Okay, Monday, 3:30. But if anything goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. Just do your job." The recording ended. I couldn't breathe. "She's planning to kidnap Owen." "Yes. We have 72 hours to stop her. I'm coordinating with the San Diego field office. We'll have agents at the school Monday afternoon. Plainclothes surveillance. Rick Torres will be arrested the moment he attempts contact with Owen. Vanessa will be arrested simultaneously. What do I do?" "Keep Owen home from school Monday. Tell the principal there's a family emergency. Do not tell Derek. Do not tell Vanessa. Let them think everything is normal. We need them to follow through with the plan so we can catch them in the act. Okay? Thomas, I need you to stay calm. We're in control now. This ends Monday." She hung up. I sat in the workshop staring at the security camera feed on my phone. Outside the alley was dark, empty, quiet. I thought about Owen. I thought about Vanessa's voice on that recording. "Take him to Tijuana. I'll meet you there." She was going to take my grandson across the border. She was going to use him as leverage, or worse. I called Dorothy. "Dorothy, I need you to pick up Owen from school tomorrow and keep him at your house through the weekend. Don't bring him back to the workshop. Don't let him out of your sight." Thomas, what's going on? I can't explain right now. Please, just trust me. There was a pause. Okay, I'll get him tomorrow morning. Thank you. Saturday morning, June 1st. Rebecca called at 8 a.m. I'm meeting with Principal Linda Harper at St. Augustine Elementary this morning. We're briefing her on the situation and deploying 2 plainclothes agents on campus Monday. They'll pose as maintenance staff. Owen's photo will be flagged. Any unauthorized person asking about him or attempting to pick him up will be detained immediately. Good. One more thing. Derek called Vanessa last night. We have the recording. He overheard her on the phone talking about taking Owen somewhere safe. He panicked. He doesn't know the details, but he knows something's wrong. He's scared. What did he say? He asked her what she was planning. She told him to stay out of it. He threatened to call you. She told him if he did, she'd make sure he went to prison for the rest of his life. He backed down. But Thomas, he's breaking. If we can get him alone, we can flip him. Do it. We're bringing him in this afternoon. Voluntary interview. If he cooperates, we'll offer him a deal. Reduced charges in exchange for testimony against Vanessa. Oh, will he take it? And I think so. He's terrified of her. And he's starting to realize how deep he's in. Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock. Rebecca called again. Derek just signed an affidavit. He confirmed he gave Vanessa your Wells Fargo account information. He confirmed he was present when she altered the deed. He confirmed the Proton Mail emails are real. He denied involvement in the brake line sabotage and the kidnapping plot. He claims he didn't know about either until this week. Do you believe him? Honestly, yes. He's not smart enough to have planned this. Vanessa's the mastermind. Derek's just a coward who went along with it until it got too dangerous. What happens to him? That depends on the prosecutor. But he's cooperating. That counts for something. Sunday night, June 2nd. Rebecca called at 9 p.m. Her voice was tense. Thomas, do not leave your workshop tonight. Lock the doors. Keep your phone on. We have intelligence that Vanessa may attempt to contact you or come to your location. If she does, do not engage. Call 911 immediately. What intelligence? Rick Torres made a phone call to a burner number an hour ago. We traced it to a cell tower 3 blocks from your workshop. We think Vanessa's nearby. I walked to the window and looked down at the alley. It was dark. Empty. I'm locking the door now, I said. Chuck, good. FBI agents are en route. They'll be outside your building in 15 minutes. Sit tight. I hung up. I locked the door. I wedged a chair under the handle. I turned off the lights. I sat at the cherry wood table in the dark, my phone in one hand, a flashlight in the other. Outside, the city hummed. Somewhere out there, maybe 3 blocks away, maybe closer, Vanessa was waiting. Monday was coming. And I had no idea what would happen when it arrived. Monday, June 3rd, 2025, 2:30 in the afternoon. I sat in the back of an unmarked FBI van parked half a block from St. Augustine Elementary School. Through the tinted window, I could see the front entrance, the chain-link fence, the playground, where children played during recess. Rebecca Foster sat beside me wearing a black tactical vest over a gray shirt, an earpiece in her left ear. 2 other agents, both men mid-30s armed, sat in the front seats monitoring radio chatter. Owen's safe. I asked for the 3rd time. Owen's at Dorothy's house, Rebecca said patiently. He never came to school today. Vanessa and Rick don't know that. They think he's here. They think the plan is still on. And the decoy, Agent Mira Blake, 23 years old, 5'2", brown hair same length as Owen's, wearing his backpack, his jacket, his baseball cap. From a distance, she looks like a 7-year-old boy. Up close, she's a trained federal agent with a weapon. I nodded, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Rebecca's earpiece crackled. A voice said, "Silver Honda Accord entering the parking lot. Plate 7J3492. Registered to Richard Torres. Rebecca leaned forward. That's him. Everyone stay sharp. Through the window, I watched a silver Honda pull into a visitor parking spot near the school entrance. The driver stayed inside. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I could see his hands gripping the steering wheel. High second vehicle approaching, the voice in Rebecca's earpiece said, Black Nissan Altima. Driver matches description of Vanessa Pierce. A black Nissan pulled in 2 rows behind the Honda. Vanessa got out. She wore sunglasses, jeans, a loose sweater. She walked to Rick's car and leaned in through the passenger window. They spoke for 30 seconds. Then she walked back to her car and sat inside, engine running. Rebecca spoke into her wrist mic. All units' targets are in position. Wait for contact with the decoy. Do not move until confirmation. The minutes dragged. At 3:28, the school bell rang. Children poured out of the building, dozens of them laughing, shouting, running to waiting parents. And then I saw her, Agent Mira Blake. She walked slowly, head down, backpack slung over one shoulder, wearing Owen's red jacket and Padres baseball cap. From 50 feet away, she looked exactly like my grandson. Rick Torres got out of the Honda. He's moving, Rebecca said into her mic. Stand by. Rick walked toward the school entrance, casual hands in his pockets. He stopped near the fence, watching the children. When Mira walked past him, he stepped forward. Owen, he said loud enough for the surveillance team to hear. Owen Bennett, your mom sent me to pick you up today. Mira stopped. She looked up at him. I don't know you. I'm a friend of your mom's. She's running late. She asked me to give you a ride. It's okay. Mira hesitated just like a child would. My grandpa said I'm not supposed to go with strangers. I know, buddy, but your mom's waiting. Come on, let's go. Rick reached for Mira's arm. Rebecca's voice was sharp. Go. Go now. 4 agents in plain clothes, 2 posing as parents, 2 as school staff, closed in from different directions. One grabbed Rick's wrist before he could touch Mira. Another pulled his arms behind his back. A third cuffed him. Rick shouted, What the hell? Get off me! For you're under arrest for attempted kidnapping. In the parking lot, Vanessa saw the agents. She threw her car into reverse tires, screeching. But 2 FBI vehicles blocked her exit, one in front, one behind. Agents surrounded her car, weapons drawn. Vanessa Pierce, turn off the engine hands where we can see them. She didn't move. For 5 seconds she sat frozen. Then slowly she raised her hands and placed them on the steering wheel. 2 agents opened her door and pulled her out. They cuffed her and walked her toward a black SUV. Rebecca turned to me. It's over. I exhaled. My chest felt tight. Is Owen safe? He's at Dorothy's. We'll call her now. 4:30 p.m. FBI field office, downtown San Diego. I sat in an interview room with Rebecca Howard Fitzgerald and Assistant U.S. Attorney Maria Delgado, a woman in her early 50s with gray-streaked hair and sharp eyes. Maria laid out a folder. Mr. Bennett, here's where we are. Vanessa Pierce and Richard Torres were arrested at 3:32 p.m. today. They're both in federal custody. Vanessa is being charged with conspiracy to commit kidnapping under 18 U.S.C. Section 1201 child endangerment under California Penal Code 273A mortgage fraud under 18 U.S.C. Section 1014 wire fraud under 18 U.S.C. Section 1343 and identity theft under 18 U.S.C. Section 1028. What's the penalty, I asked. Conspiracy to kidnap carries up to life in prison. The other charges add another 20 to 30 years. Realistically, if she's convicted on all counts, she's looking at 40 years minimum. With a plea deal, maybe 12 to 15. And Rick Torres, she's attempted kidnapping, conspiracy, felony, vandalism. He'll get 10 to 15 years. But if he cooperates and testifies against Vanessa, we can reduce that to 5. I looked at Rebecca. What about Derek? Rebecca opened another folder. Derek Bennett signed a cooperation agreement this morning. He's pleading guilty to conspiracy to commit mortgage fraud and accessory after the fact. In exchange for his testimony, we're recommending 6 months in federal prison, 3 years supervised probation, and full restitution to you in the amount of $180,000. 6 months, I said. He helped her. He did, Rebecca said. But he also came forward before we arrested him. He provided evidence. He's testifying against Vanessa. Without his cooperation, this case would take twice as long. The judge will consider that. Maria leaned forward. Mr. Bennett, I know this feels light, but Derek's testimony is critical. Juries trust family members who turn on each other. If he takes the stand and says, my wife planned this, I was manipulated, and I'm cooperating to make it right, that's powerful. I didn't respond. I just stared at the table. Howard spoke quietly. Thomas, 6 months is better than nothing, and he'll have a felony record. He'll lose his business license. He'll be under federal supervision for 3 years. He's not getting away with this. I nodded. Okay. Maria closed the folder. Vanessa's arraignment is scheduled for Thursday morning. Rick Torres will be arraigned the same day. Sentencing won't happen for at least 6 weeks. In the meantime, we'll be gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, and preparing for trial if Vanessa doesn't take a plea. Will she take a plea? Maria smiled grimly. She doesn't have much choice. We have her on tape planning a kidnapping. We have forensic evidence of the forged contract. We have Rick Torres willing to testify. She's done. 6 o'clock. I drove to Dorothy's house. Owen was in the living room playing with Lego blocks. When he saw me, he jumped up and ran over. Grandpa Aunt Dorothy said we had a special day off from school. Did you know? I knelt and hugged him. Yeah, buddy, I knew. Are we going home now? I looked at Dorothy. She nodded. Yeah, I said. We're going home. Owen grabbed his backpack and took my hand. We walked out to the truck Carlos had replaced the brake lines that morning. I buckled Owen into the passenger seat and started the engine. As I drove through the city, Owen asked, Grandpa, where's Mom? I kept my eyes on the road. She's away right now, for a while. How long? I thought about Maria's words. 40 years minimum. A long time, I said quietly. Owen nodded and looked out the window. Okay. We drove in silence for a few minutes. Then Owen said, Grandpa, yeah, can we work on the table tonight? I want to fix the bird. I smiled. It was the first time I'd smiled in days. Yeah, we can do that. That night in the workshop, Owen and I sat at the cherrywood table. I handed him a piece of fine grit sandpaper. We'll start here, I said, pointing to the corner where his bird had been buried under black paint. He worked carefully, his small hands moving in slow circles. After 10 minutes, a faint outline appeared, the curve of a wing, the tip of a beak. It's still here, Owen said, his voice filled with wonder. Yeah, I said quietly. It survived. He looked up at me. Like us, I nodded. Like us. It's still here, Owen said, tracing the outline with his finger. Yeah, I said. It's still here. Owen picked up a small chisel. Can I make it better? Go ahead. He carved carefully, deepening the lines, adding details to the wings. When he finished, he stepped back and looked at it. It's not perfect, he said. No, I agreed. But it's ours. Owen smiled. He climbed into my lap and rested his head against my chest. I wrapped my arms around him and looked at the table, the scars, the carved initials, the bird. Outside, the city lights flickered. Somewhere out there, Vanessa sat in a federal holding cell. Derek sat in another. Rick Torres in a third. But here in this workshop, my grandson was safe. And for the first time in weeks, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, we were going to be okay. Tuesday morning, June 4th, 2025, 9 o'clock, Rebecca Foster called. Thomas Derrick just walked into the FBI field office. Alone. No lawyer. He's carrying a letter he says is for you and Owen. He wants to make a full confession on the record before he hands it over. Can you come down? I'll be there in 20 minutes. I arrived at 9:30. Rebecca led me to a conference room. Derrick sat at the table, hands folded. He wore a wrinkled shirt, his face unshaven, eyes red. When I entered, he stood. Dad, I sat across from him. Rebecca sat beside me. Another agent prepared to transcribe. Rebecca activated a recorder. This is Special Agent Rebecca Foster, FBI San Diego. June 4th, 2025, 9:35 a.m. Present are Thomas Bennett and Derrick Bennett. Derrick, you've waived your right to an attorney, correct? Yes. You're here voluntarily. Yes. Go ahead. Derrick took a breath. Dad, I'm here to tell you everything. I should have done this weeks ago. I was a coward. I'm sorry. He paused. 4 years ago, Vanessa and I had serious financial problems. I borrowed money to expand my construction company. The expansion failed. I gambled online trying to win it back. By 2023, I owed $180,000 to a loan shark, Victor Morales. 25% interest compounded. I signed over 51% of my company $300,000 as collateral. Morales said if I didn't pay by June 2025, he'd take everything and come after my family. Rebecca made notes. When did Vanessa get involved? March 2025. I told her about the debt. She said she had a plan. She said Mom had just died, you were grieving, not thinking clearly. If we got the house, we could take out a loan, pay Morales, keep the company. I said no at first. But she kept pushing. She said it wasn't stealing, just accelerating my inheritance. She said you were old, sick, would probably die soon anyway. My jaw tightened. She wrote the emails. The plan. The line about stressing your heart until it gave out. I read them. I didn't stop her. I thought she was venting. I didn't think she'd actually do it. But she did, Rebecca said. Yeah. April 25th. You signed the deed transfer. You thought you were giving me the house with a reversionary clause. After you left, Vanessa scanned the document, opened it in Photoshop, deleted the clause, added power of attorney language. She copied your signature, pasted it, printed it. 2 weeks later, she took it to Wells Fargo. Did you know? Rebecca asked. Derrick hesitated. I knew she was altering the deed. I was there. But I didn't know she'd take out a $240,000 loan. I thought she was just protecting us in case you changed your mind. Did you give her your father's Wells Fargo information? Derrick closed his eyes. Yes. She said she needed it to transfer money. I gave her the account number and the password hint, Mom's maiden name. I didn't know she'd use it for a loan. What about the first communion? I asked quietly. Derrick looked at me. The first communion was Vanessa's idea. The perfect cover invite, everyone make it look normal, then move on the loan the next day. She told me not to invite you directly. When you showed up late and she saw you outside, she told me to stay quiet. She raised her glass and said that line about the old man. I heard it. I didn't stop her. I didn't defend you. I just stood there. His voice cracked. When you confronted us May 14th, I lied. I said I didn't know about the loan, but I knew. The whole time. Rebecca leaned forward. The brake lines, the kidnapping. I didn't know about the brake lines until after. Vanessa hired Rick Torres without telling me. Same with the kidnapping. I overheard her Thursday night talking about taking Owen somewhere safe. I asked what she meant. She told me to stay out of it. Said if I went to you or the FBI, she'd make sure I went to prison forever. I believed her. Until Saturday when you called me in. That's when I realized how deep I was. That's when I knew I had to tell the truth. Rebecca stopped the recording. Derek, this statement will be used in court. Vanessa's attorney will cross-examine you. Are you prepared? Yes. You understand you're accepting a guilty plea to conspiracy to commit mortgage fraud and accessory after the fact. Yes. Rebecca turned to me. Derek agrees to full restitution $180,000 over 10 years. 6 months federal prison, 3 years supervised probation. In exchange, he testifies against Vanessa. Questions. I looked at Derek. Why now? Why not 5 weeks ago? Derek pulled a folded envelope from his wallet. Creased, worn, stained. He slid it across the table. I wrote this May 15th, the day after you confronted us. I've been carrying it since. I didn't have the courage to give it to you, but I want you to have it now. I picked it up. My name in Derek's handwriting. Below, and Owen. I'm not asking forgiveness, Derek said. I don't deserve it. Just asking you to read it. When you're ready. I put the envelope in my pocket without opening it. Rebecca stood. Derek, you'll be processed downstairs. Released on electronic monitoring. No contact with Vanessa, Rick, or witnesses. Sentencing July 3rd. Understood. Understood. Derek stood. Dad, I know I don't have the right. But I love you. I love Owen. I'm sorry I forgot how to show it. I walked out without responding. 4 p.m. Howard drove me to San Diego County Courthouse for emergency custody. Judge Margaret Collins sat behind the bench reading Rebecca's FBI report. Howard stood. Your Honor, requesting temporary emergency custody of Owen Christopher Bennett, age 7, to grandfather Thomas Bennett. Mother Vanessa Pierce is in federal custody facing kidnapping charges. Father Derek Bennett pleaded guilty to fraud awaiting sentencing. Child currently in grandfather's care since June 3rd. Judge Collins looked at me. Mr. Bennett prepared to take full custody. Yes, Your Honor. This is emergency, not permanent. Full hearing within 6 months. I'm appointing a guardian ad litem. CPS will conduct a home study. Understand? Yes. Vanessa Pierce, no contact pending trial. Derek Bennett may request supervised visitation after sentencing subject to CPS approval. You'll receive written order in 48 hours. Gavel strike. Granted. 5 p.m. I picked Owen up from school. He buckled in. Miss Harper said I stay with you now. True. Yeah, buddy. How long? I thought about 6 months. Vanessa's trial. Derek's sentencing. The home study. We'll see, but you're safe. Owen nodded. Can we fix the table tonight? Yeah. That evening, we worked on the table. Spray paint almost gone. Wood smooth. Owen carved deeper OB. I carved mine TB. Owen looked at empty space. Should we put Dad's? I hesitated, handed him the chisel. If you want. Owen carved DB. There. Now it's everybody. 4 initials, 4 legs. 1 family. Broken but standing. Derek's letter sat unopened on the workbench. I wasn't ready yet, but someday. 2 weeks after the arrests, Tuesday, June 18th, 2025, I drove Owen to his first therapy session with Dr. Elena Ruiz. Her office was downtown near Balboa Park. The waiting room had soft chairs, children's books, and wooden puzzles. Owen sat beside me, swinging his legs. Grandpa, why do I have to talk to a doctor? I'm not sick. When Dr. Ruiz helps kids talk about feelings when big things happen. Like Mom going away. Yeah, like that. At 3, Dr. Ruiz opened the door. She was 42, dark hair in a loose bun, wearing a cardigan and jeans. She smiled. Hi, Owen. I'm Dr. Ruiz. You can call me Elena. Want to come in? Owen looked at me. I nodded. He followed her inside. I waited 50 minutes. When the door opened, Owen held up a crayon drawing. 3 people, a tall man labeled Grandpa, a smaller figure labeled Me, and off to the side, scratched out with black crayon, a shape labeled Mom. Dr. Ruiz stood in the doorway. "Mr. Bennett, can we talk?" I followed her in. She gestured to a chair. Owen did well. He's processing a lot. I asked him to draw his family. He included you prominently. He crossed out his mother. When I asked why, he said, "Because she's not here anymore." I asked if he was angry. He said, "I don't know. Maybe. That's normal." What do I tell him when he asks about her? Be honest, age appropriate. Don't lie. Don't say she's on a trip. He's 7, he can handle truth in simple terms. Say, "Your mom made bad choices and broke the law. She's in a place where people go when they do that. A judge said it's not safe for her to see you right now." Let him ask questions. Answer simply. Don't overload him. What about his father? He didn't mention Derek today. When he does, same approach. Honesty, simplicity, no blame. Kids internalize guilt. Make sure he knows none of this is his fault. Okay. One more thing. Owen asked if you were going to leave too. What should I tell him? I looked at her. Tell him I'm not going anywhere. That evening, Owen asked if we could work on our project. He didn't call it the table anymore. He called it our project. I pulled out the sandpaper. Owen ran his hand over the surface, smoother now, the paint almost gone. But the scars were still there. Faint lines where the spray paint had seeped into the grain. "Grandpa," he said, tracing one of the scars with his finger. "Why didn't we just get a new table?" I thought about that. About how easy it would have been to throw this one away. Start over with something unblemished. "Because this table has history," I said. "Your grandmother's initials are in it. Your initials, mine, your dad's. All the people we love, they're part of this wood. If we threw it away, we'd lose all of that." Owen nodded slowly. "So the scars are memories." "Yeah," I said. "Painful ones, but memories." He picked up his chisel and began deepening the outline of his bird. He didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. Thursday, June 20th. Howard called. "Thomas, Vanessa's attorney wants a plea deal." "What are they offering?" "Vanessa pleads guilty to mortgage fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Government drops attempted murder. 12 years federal prison instead of 40 at trial. Prosecutor Maria Delgado is inclined to accept, but wants your input. 12 years. With good behavior, 10. But if we go to trial, juries are unpredictable. A plea guarantees prison. A trial, anything could happen." "What about Owen? Will he have to testify at trial?" "Possibly. Defense might call him as a character witness." "Look at this loving mother. It would be brutal." I closed my eyes. "I don't want Owen in that courtroom." Then we take the plea. "What does Maria recommend?" 12 years with sentencing enhancement. Judge can add time for aggravating factors, fake bruises, fake pregnancy, hired vandal kidnapping plot. She thinks Judge Collins will go to 14. 1. Derek. Separate plea. 6 months, 3 years probation, full restitution. Sentencing July 3rd. Vanessa's a week after. Okay? Tell Maria I agree. But I want to read a victim impact statement. I'll let her know. Friday evening, June 21st. I sat at the kitchen table writing. Owen was asleep on the couch. I wrote for 2 hours. When I finished, I read aloud to the empty room. "Your Honor, my name is Thomas Bennett. I am 61 years old. I am a father, a grandfather, and a widower. Vanessa Pierce entered my family 8 years ago. I welcomed her. I paid for her wedding. I helped them buy their first home. I trusted her. That trust was a mistake. Vanessa forged my signature. She stole $240,000. She faked a pregnancy. She hired a man to vandalize my workshop and cut my brake lines. She planned to kidnap my grandson and take him to Mexico. Every step she lied. She manipulated. She weaponized my love for my family. But the worst part isn't the money. It's what she did to Owen. He's 7. He spent a month asking why his mother isn't here, why his father is in prison, why his family fell apart. I don't have good answers. All I can say is the people who were supposed to protect him chose greed instead. I'm asking this court to hold Vanessa Pierce accountable, not for revenge, for justice, and for Owen's safety. I folded the statement. Saturday, June 22nd. Maria called. Thomas Vanessa accepted the plea. 12 years, federal lifetime supervised release, $240,000 restitution, permanent no contact with Owen until 18. Sentencing, July 10th. You'll have 5 minutes for your statement. Will she speak? I don't know. Most defendants don't, but Vanessa's unpredictable. What about Derek? July 3rd, 1 week before. Same courtroom, same judge. I'll be there. Sunday, June 23rd. Owen and I carved at the table. He'd added feathers, a beak, tiny claws to the bird. Grandpa, when Dad gets out, can he come here? I hesitated. I don't know. That's up to the judge. And you. What do you mean? If you want to see him, we can arrange it. If not, you don't have to. Your choice. Can I decide later? Yeah, buddy. Whenever you're ready. He nodded and kept carving. I looked at the table. Almost perfect now, smooth, polished. The initials clear, CBTBDBOB, 4 people, 4 legs, 1 family. Derek's letter sat unopened in my workbench drawer. Vanessa's sentencing was in 2 weeks. Custody hearing in 5 months, still so much unfinished. But tonight, sitting here with Owen carving a bird into a table that had survived 30 years tonight, I felt something I hadn't in months. Hope. Monday, June 24th. Dr. Ruiz called. Mr. Bennett Owen's doing well. He asked if it was okay to be angry at his mother. I said yes. He seemed relieved. Good. He also asked if you were angry. Oh, what did you tell him? That was a question for you. Are you... I thought about the wiretap. Take him to Tijuana. The spray paint. The brake lines. Yeah, I said quietly. I'm angry. That's okay. Owen needs to know adults feel anger too and still make good choices. You're modeling that. Thank you. Though one more thing. Owen wants to bring a photo of Catherine to our next session. He wants to tell me about her. Very healthy sign. I smiled. I'll find one. That evening, I opened my workbench drawer and held Derek's letter. Then I put it back and closed the drawer. Not yet, but soon. Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. 9 o'clock in the morning. I sat in the second row of Judge Margaret Collins's courtroom, hands folded in my lap. Howard Fitzgerald sat beside me. Dorothy sat to my left. The courtroom was nearly empty. A few journalists, a clerk, 2 bailiffs. At 9:15, Derek was led in through a side door. He wore an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. His hair was shorter, his face thinner. When his eyes found mine, he looked away. Judge Collins entered. We stood. Please be seated. Case number 25-CR-4782, United States versus Derek Michael Bennett. Mr. Bennett, you've pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit mortgage fraud and accessory after the fact. Correct? Derek stood. Yes, Your Honor. The government filed a motion for downward departure under Rule 5K 1.1. Ms. Delgado. Maria Delgado stood. Your Honor, the government recommends 36 months federal prison, 36 months probation, and $180,000 restitution. However, Mr. Bennett voluntarily surrendered, confessed, testified before a grand jury, and helped recover $140,000. We recommend 6 months federal prison, 3 years probation, 200 hours community service, and mandatory counseling. Judge Collins made notes. Mr. Klein, Derek's public defender, stood. Your Honor, my client was manipulated by his spouse. No prior record. He has a young son. He cooperated fully. We ask for probation only. Judge Collins looked at me. Does the victim wish to speak? Howard stood. Yes, Your Honor. I walked to the podium, unfolded a paper. My hands shook. Your Honor, Derek is my son. I raised him. I taught him honesty. I thought I taught him right from wrong. He betrayed me. He helped steal my home. He gave her my banking information. He watched her forge my signature. He stood silent when she mocked me at my grandson's first communion, a ceremony I paid for. He knew about emails that talked about stressing my heart until it stopped. My voice cracked. But he came forward. He told the truth. He's testifying against Vanessa. I don't forgive him yet. Maybe never. But I hope 6 months teaches him what I couldn't, how to love family without destroying it. I sat down. Judge Collins looked at Derek. Mr. Bennett, do you wish to speak? Derek stood. Your Honor, I'm not asking for mercy. I know what I did. I helped my wife steal from my father. I stayed silent. I put my son in danger. I was drowning in debt and made the worst choices. He turned to me. Dad, I wrote you a letter 5 weeks ago. I don't know if you read it. Everything in it is true. I never stopped loving you. I just forgot how to show it. I'm sorry. Judge Collins leaned forward. The guidelines recommend 37 to 46 months. However, the government cited your substantial assistance. You surrendered June 4th. You confessed. You testified. You helped recover $140,000. No prior record. Based on these factors, I'm granting downward departure under Rule 5 K1.1. I sentence you to 6 months at FC. Lompoc, 3 years. Supervised probation $180,000, restitution over 10 years, 200 hours, community service. Mandatory counseling. Report to FCI Lompoc by July 20th. Gavel strike. Adjourned. Derek mouthed thank you. I didn't respond. 1 week later. Wednesday, July 10th. 10 o'clock. Same courtroom. This time fuller. Journalists in 3 rows. Jessica Morgan from the Union Tribune in front. Camera crews outside. Vanessa entered in a gray jumpsuit, hair pulled back, face expressionless. She didn't look at me. Judge Collins entered. We stood. Case 2-5-CR-4791, United States versus Vanessa Marie Pierce. Ms. Pierce, you've pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit kidnapping, child endangerment, mortgage fraud, wire fraud, and identity theft. Correct. Vanessa stood. Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Delgado. Your Honor, the government recommends 144 months, 12 years, federal prison lifetime supervised release, $240,000 restitution, and no contact with Owen Bennett until age 18. Judge Collins made notes. Mr. Shepard, Bradley Shepard, stood. Your Honor, my client accepts responsibility. She was financially desperate. She's a mother. She has a 7-year-old son. We ask for leniency. Ms. Pierce, do you wish to speak? Vanessa stood, her voice cold, steady. Your Honor, I regret nothing except getting caught. Thomas Bennett is manipulative. He turned my husband against me. I did what I had to do. Silence. Judge Collins's face hardened. Ms. Pierce, you forged documents. You faked a pregnancy to defraud 847 people. You hired someone to cut brake lines. You planned to kidnap a 7-year-old and take him to Mexico. You weaponized your son's safety. The plea recommends 12 years. I'm going beyond that. I sentence you to 168 months, 14 years, at FCI Dublin Lifetime Supervised Release, $240,000 restitution, and no contact with Owen Bennett until he turns 25. Report to FCY Dublin by July 26th. Gavel strike. Vanessa's face went white. As marshals led her past, she hissed, "This isn't over." I walked out without responding. Outside, July sun blazed. Jessica Morgan approached. "Mr. Bennett, how do you feel?" I stopped. Derek's 6 months. Vanessa's 14 years. Owen asking when his mother was coming home. I feel like I can finally breathe. What's next? We go home. We keep building. I drove back to the workshop with Howard and Dorothy. That evening, Owen was at Dorothy's. The workshop was quiet. I opened my workbench drawer and took out Derek's letter. I held it, feeling its weight. Then I opened it. "Dad, I don't know how to start this. I've tried a dozen times. Every time sounds like excuses. So here's the truth. I failed you. I failed Owen. I failed Mom's memory. I let Vanessa convince me stealing from you was okay because you'd die anyway, and it was speeding up inheritance. I knew it was wrong, the whole time. But I was so deep in debt, so scared, I convinced myself it didn't matter. It mattered. At Owen's first communion, when Vanessa said that about you, thank God the old man didn't show up. I should have walked over. Should have told everyone to stop. Should have said, "That's my father. He paid for this. Show respect." But I didn't. I was a coward. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I'm done lying. I'm telling the FBI everything. Testifying against Vanessa. Accepting whatever comes. When I get out, if you ever let me see Owen, I'll spend my life trying to be the father you raised me to be. I love you, Dad. I'm sorry I forgot how to show it. Derek. I folded the letter. My chest tight. Throat burning. I didn't cry. I'd cried enough. But I sat there a long time, staring at the letter, thinking about the boy Derek was, and the man he'd become, and the man he might still be. Outside, city lights flickered. Inside, silence. And for the first time in months, I thought, maybe, just maybe, there's a way forward. Tuesday, September 15th, 2025. I woke at 5 in the morning, made coffee, and stared at the address, written on a piece of paper, taped to my refrigerator, Federal Correctional Institution. Lompoc, 3901 Klein Boulevard, Lompoc, CA 93436, 170 miles north of San Diego. 3 hours if traffic was light. I hadn't seen Derek since the sentencing on July 15th. 2 months. Howard had called me twice to say Derek was asking about me about Owen. I didn't return the messages, but last week Owen had looked up from his homework and asked, "Grandpa, where's Dad?" I told him the truth. "Your dad made mistakes. He's in a place where people go when they break the law. He's trying to fix what he did." Owen nodded slowly. "Can I see him?" "Not yet," I said. "When you're ready." That conversation stayed with me. I realized I couldn't tell Owen his father was trying to fix things if I didn't know whether that was true. So I filled out the visitation form. I drove north on Interstate 101 with the windows down, the early autumn air cool against my face. The prison appeared at 8:10, a cluster of low concrete buildings surrounded by double fencing and razor wire. I parked in the visitor's lot, walked to the entrance, and presented my ID to a woman behind reinforced glass. She checked my name against a list, handed me a laminated badge, and pointed to a metal detector. I emptied my pocket's keys, wallet, a photograph of Owen I'd brought without knowing why. A guard waved me through. Another guard led me down a long corridor that smelled of disinfectant and sweat, then into a visitation room with rows of small tables bolted to the floor. Families sat at some of them, women with children, older couples holding hands. I sat at table 7 and waited. Derek came through a side door 5 minutes later. He wore a khaki uniform that hung loose on his frame. He had lost weight. His hair was shorter. There were dark circles under his eyes. When he saw me, he stopped as if he wasn't sure I was real. The guard gestured for him to sit. Derek walked slowly to the table and lowered himself into the plastic chair across from me. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "Owen asks about you?" I said finally. Derek's eyes filled with tears. He blinked them back. "What do you tell him?" "I tell him you made mistakes, that you're trying to fix them. I don't lie to him." Derek nodded. His hands were folded on the table. His knuckles were scraped. "Does he hate me?" "No," I said. "He's confused. He's hurt. But he doesn't hate you." Derek exhaled slowly. "What about you?" I looked at him. I thought about the forged deed, the fake loan, the Proton Mail emails, the break lines, the letter he had written still sitting unopened on my desk. "I don't know," I said. "Some days, yes. Some days I feel empty." Derek wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "I'm taking classes here. Accounting, financial literacy. I'm trying to be better." "Good," I said. "You have time. Use it." He nodded. "Will you bring Owen someday?" "When he's ready," I said. "Not before." Derek accepted that. We sat in silence for a few minutes. Around us, other families talked in low voices. A little girl at the next table laughed. Her father, a young man in the same khaki uniform, smiled at her. It was a sad, distant smile. "I read your letter." I lied. I hadn't. But I wanted to see his reaction. Derek looked up surprised. "You did?" "Not yet," I admitted. "I will. When I'm ready." He understood. "Thank you for coming, Dad." I stood. "I'll come back. I don't know when. But I'll come back." Derek stood too. For a moment I thought he might try to hug me, but he didn't. He just nodded. "I love you." I turned and walked toward the exit without looking back. I sat in my truck in the parking lot for 10 minutes. My hands were shaking. I gripped the steering wheel and let the tears come. They were quiet tears, not the wrenching sobs I'd felt in the courtroom, or the night Owen had asked if we could fix the table together. Just a slow, steady release. The third time I had cried since this whole nightmare began. After a while, I started the engine and drove south. The highway stretched out before me, golden hills on either side, the Pacific Ocean visible in the distance. I thought about Derek's question, "Does he hate me?" I thought about my answer, "I don't know." It was the truth. I didn't know if I hated him. I didn't know if I could forgive him. But I knew I had shown up. That had to count for something. I reached San Diego just after midnight. The streets were quiet. I parked outside my workshop on Kettner Boulevard and climbed the stairs to the loft apartment. The light was on. Dorothy was sitting in the armchair by the window reading a book. She looked up when I came in. "How was it?" she asked. "Hard," I said. She nodded. "Owen's asleep on the couch. He wanted to wait up for you." I looked over. Owen was curled up on the old leather sofa, a blanket pulled up to his chin. His backpack was open on the floor, homework spilling out. I walked over and knelt beside him. There was a sheet of lined paper on the coffee table, the title written in careful block letters, "My Hero." I picked it up and read the first line, "My hero is my grandpa." The essay continued in Owen's uneven handwriting. "He saved me from bad people. He teaches me how to fix things. He makes me pancakes on Saturdays. He never lies to me. When I grow up, I want to be like him." I set the paper down. My throat was tight. Dorothy came over and put a hand on my shoulder. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm okay." She kissed the top of my head and left, closing the door softly behind her. I pulled the blanket up over Owen's shoulders and sat down in the armchair. I looked at the essay again, then at the cherry wood table across the room. The surface gleamed now, smooth, polished, whole. Almost. The scars were still there if you looked closely, but they were part of it now. Not damage, just history. I made a promise to myself sitting there in the quiet darkness I would live up to those words. I would be the man Owen thought I was. Not perfect, not without mistakes, but present, honest. There, outside the city lights flickered. Inside my grandson slept. And for the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. The call came on December 3rd, 2025. I was in the workshop sanding the cherry wood table. My phone buzzed. Derek's voice was quiet. "Dad, it's me. I was released December 8th, served 141 days. I'm at a halfway house in Chula Vista working construction. I want to see Owen, if you'll let me." I looked at Owen coloring on the floor. "I'll talk to him." That night I sat beside Owen on the couch. "Your dad called. He wants to see you. How do you feel about that?" Owen thought for a long time. "I don't really know him anymore, but maybe just a little, we'll make it short," I said. "Dr. Ruiz will be there. Sunday, December 22nd. 2 weeks after Derek's release." I drove Owen to Balboa Park. Dr. Elena Ruiz waited on a bench. Derek appeared 10 minutes later wearing loose jeans and a faded jacket. He carried a small wooden airplane roughly carved. He knelt at Owen's eye level. "Hi, Owen. It's Dad." I know," Owen said. Grandpa showed me pictures. Derek's eyes filled with tears. "I missed you so much. Why did you go away?" Derek glanced at me. "I made very bad choices. I hurt people I loved. I had to learn how to be better." "Are you better now?" "I'm trying, every day." He held out the airplane. Owen took it. "Thank you." We walked through the park for 45 minutes. Derek asked about school friends' hobbies. Owen answered politely, but stayed close to me. At the rose garden, Owen tugged my sleeve. "I'm tired. Can we go home, Grandpa?" Derek stopped. "Can I see him again?" I looked at Owen. He shrugged. "If he wants to, I'll ask him." "Thank you, Dad." I didn't shake his hand. In the truck, Owen stared out the window. "Do you think Dad is really better?" "I think he's trying," I said. "That's all any of us can do." Monday, December 28th. 6 days later. Derek arrived at the workshop at 9. Owen wore a tool belt holding sandpaper. "Can I help?" Derek asked. I gestured to the table. "We're finishing it today." We worked in silence for an hour. I showed Derek how to smooth the surface where spray paint had been scrubbed away. Owen checked for rough spots. The table was nearly whole, scarred, but standing. At noon, Dorothy arrived with sandwiches, lemonade, and cookies. We sat around the table. Derek asked Owen about school. Owen said his favorite subject was math. Derek smiled. "I was good at math too. Maybe I can help you with homework sometime." Owen nodded. "Maybe." Howard stopped by carrying an envelope. "Vanessa sent this. First contact in 6 months. Addressed to Owen." I set it on the workbench. "He can read it when he's ready. Or never. That's his choice." At 3 o'clock, Owen picked up a chisel. "Can I carve my name?" "Go ahead." Owen carved OB into the corner. Derek asked, "Can I?" I handed him the chisel. He carved DB beside Owen's initials. I added TB beneath CB. Catherine's initials still visible. Derek ran his hand over the letters. "I'm sorry it took me so long to understand." "Yeah, we're here now," I said. "That's what matters." The 4 of us carried the table to the courtyard. Dorothy laid a checkered cloth over it. Owen pulled out his homework and sat down. Derek stood a few feet away. "Do you think we'll ever finish fixing everything?" Owen looked up. "We just did." I ran my hand over the smooth surface. "This table has 4 legs. One for each of us, Catherine, me, you, and Owen. Even when it was broken, it still stood. Derek nodded. He sat across from Owen. Can I stay for a while? I looked at Owen. He shrugged. Okay. Derek smiled, fragile, uncertain. He picked up a cookie. Owen went back to his homework. I sat beside him and began carving a wooden box for Owen's 8th birthday, 5 months away. Dorothy poured lemonade. We sat together in the winter sunlight. Owen looked up. Grandpa, do you think Mom will ever come back? I thought about Vanessa locked in FCY Dublin for 13 more years. I thought about the unopened letter. Someday, maybe, but this... I gestured to the table, to Derek, to Owen. This is your family, right here. Owen nodded and went back to his homework. Derek sat quietly, hands folded. Dorothy refilled our cups. The afternoon stretched out quiet and slow. I watched Owen write his small hand, gripping the pencil. I watched Derek watch his son. I felt the weight of the last 8 months. The eviction, the fraud, the kidnapping plot, the sentencing, the visits, the rebuilding. None of it was forgiven. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But we were here, together, trying. The table wasn't perfect. The wood bore faint traces of paint. The joints were tight but visible. The legs were strong, but the scars remained. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. And that was enough. Looking back at this family story, I see a man who built houses but nearly lost his home. I designed structures for strangers but failed to protect the foundation of my own family story. That's the irony I live with every day. If you're reading this, don't be like me. Don't ignore the red flags because you love someone. Don't stay silent when you see manipulation disguised as love. Don't assume blood guarantees loyalty. I learned the hard way that grandpa stories like mine are warnings, not just tales of survival. These grandpa stories are meant to teach you trust, yes, but verify. Love, yes, but set boundaries. The hardest lesson: forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Derek sits at my table now, but the scars remain. Vanessa is locked away for 14 years, but Owen still asks about his mother. Healing isn't linear. It's messy, slow, and incomplete. Some days I'm angry. Some days I'm grateful we survived. Most days I'm both. God gave me a second chance to raise a child. Not because I deserved it, but because Owen needed someone to stay. Faith didn't erase the betrayal, but it gave me the strength to stand when I wanted to collapse. Here's my advice. Protect your legacy before it's stolen. Document everything. Ask hard questions. And if someone you love starts lying, don't excuse it, confront it. Because the moment you ignore one lie, you open the door to 100 more. This family story isn't a fairy tale. It's a cautionary tale, one of those raw grandpa stories about greed, manipulation, and the brutal cost of misplaced trust. But it's also about resilience, about a cherry wood table that survived vandalism, about a grandson who still believes in heroes. The table isn't perfect, neither am I. But we're still standing. And sometimes that's enough. Thank you for walking with me to the end of this journey. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What would you do if you found yourself in Thomas's shoes? How would you handle betrayal from your own child? Your perspective matters, and I genuinely want to listen. If this story resonated with you emotionally, please consider subscribing so you won't miss future stories. A quick note: while inspired by real social issues and legal cases, certain elements have been dramatized for storytelling purposes. If this type of content isn't your preference, feel free to explore other videos that better suit your taste.